loading. It's loading. And now we're live. Yep, there it goes. Boom. Live.
The broadcast is live.
Broadcast is live.
On the internet.
Yes. So I'm Frank, and this is Stewart. And we're here to talk about the year of 2022 movies. It's going to be awesome. So, Stewart, I think we talked about this beforehand, but we're going to do our top 5 leading to our number 1, which I think is the same thing. No spoilers, but I think we know it's the same thing. And
I think this is maybe possibly the only time that we will ever converge on a number 1. Yeah. I don't want to say for sure, but I feel like it might be.
I think so, because this year nothing came close to that. That's just like nothing came close ever. Well, I guess there is one. I bet our number 2 is the same. I bet that. I'm not sure, but I think it might be. I know you watch more films and much better films. So I don't know if our 2 is the same. Start! He's gone. Oh, God. Okay. So until Stewart gets... Oh, there's Stewart. You there? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, my God. I was like, oh, God, Stewart's gone. Okay. So without further ado, let's start... Oh, let's start with our number 5. And I think you'll go first. I'll let you go first.
Okay. So my number 5 is The Menu. Let's see here. I forget who this is. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble here. Directed by Mark Millard, who I never heard of before this, but has an amazing cast. Ray Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult. I had so much fun watching this. It exceeded every expectation that I had. Those 3 are amazing in it. Excuse me. The whole cast is amazing. Everything about it is just exceptional. The production design, the script, the directing, everything. This is a great start, isn't it?
It's okay. It's okay. It's your nerves. I get it. I understand. But I have not seen The Menu. The only thing I know about The Menu is the poster, because it really looked like an ad in a magazine or something. It didn't look like a movie poster, but I think that was the intention, to make it look like, like a menu or something like that. But I literally know nothing about it, and I think that's a good thing if I ever do get to see it, which I'm sure I will. I'm starting to do streaming now, because now I'm like, if I don't have to go to the movies, I think I'll stream at home. I've gotten to that point in my life now.
Yeah.
Yep. But I'm glad I don't know anything about The Menu, though. And I'm glad that you liked it. And not only that you liked it, it's in your top 5. That's awesome.
We're doing it live.
It's okay, Stewart. We're doing this. We're doing it, man. Okay.
I was now I don't have a voice. Hold on.
It's okay, sir. Okay, I'll go to mine. Gather your thoughts. I'll go to my number 5. My number 5 was a surprise, because it literally just happened. So I went to my DVD collection and started rewatching 2022 films. And when I did that, and one of them was Nope. So when I went to rewatch Nope, what do you call it? I actually liked it a lot better than I did in the theater. There was, I could see the picture better, and the audio was much better, because I also had subtitles on. Because in the movie Nope, the characters like mumbles. He like blah, 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 blah. He mumbles under his breath, and the sister talks way too fast. And then the director talks like this. It's always been coming, and I'm looking for the perfect shot. So it's like the worst case scenario of bad audio in the movie theater. So when that happens, in the movie theater, it's bad audio, and the screen was too dark in the theater. So there was like certain sequences in the movie Nope where it was just too damn dark. You couldn't tell what was going on. and the audio sucked. So when I watched it at home, the audio was clear, full image, the full IMAX experience because it's the Blu-ray, so it fills up the whole screen. And then the audio was clear. It had subtitles for the parts I didn't understand, was the guy mumbling, blah blah blah. So it was perfect. So that's why like Nope jumped up a few, because I think Nope was at number 7 before I updated it today, but it jumped up to number 5 just because I loved it now. Because I remember I first saw it and it was like, it was okay, but it never left me. It stuck with me. So that tells me it's a good film. So I instantly bought when it went on DVD, bought it. And then yesterday I finally rewatched it and I loved it. So Nope is my number 5.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of watching Tenet. For the first time, I saw it in a drive-through theater because at the time, COVID was happening, and the only way I could see it in LA was at a drive-through because all the other theaters were closed. And you literally couldn't understand what anybody was saying. And I was like, at first I blamed it on the drive-through, but then when it finally came out on home video, I watched it again. And I realized like, oh, you just can't understand what anybody's saying. Like,
no,
you have to watch it with subtitles. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's just Tenet is one of those movies I need to rewatch, but right now I know I'm not gonna like it. Like I know I'm not gonna like it. But yeah, that one I saw in Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania still had theaters open. So I drove down to Pennsylvania and watched Tenet on the big screen, and it still was just like, okay. It didn't blow my socks off. I was like, oh, all right. So, but my number 5 was Nope. Did you have any thoughts on Nope?
So I saw originally I saw Nope in the theater. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. And I was like, I feel like I need to watch this again. So, but I didn't really have time or any want to like go back to the theater and watch it. So I waited until it came out on home video. I rented it and watched it again. And I will say that experience was a lot better because I feel like the first time I watched it, like so much was happening that it was hard for me to like keep up with. And like you said, it was hard to sometimes to understand like what people were saying.
Yeah.
And everything was moving so fast. And when I could watch it at home, it was like the whole experience changed for me. So I liked it a lot more then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's just characters in that movie that are like fast talking. The sister's like fast talking and she's so quick, blah, 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 blah. And then the brother's like mumble core. You can't understand a damn thing he says. And then the director comes in at the he's like, oh, blah, blah. It's like, oh my God, this movie was made for subtitles. Oh man. But if you're ready, number 4 is next. So what's your number 4?
Number 4 is, I feel like a little bit, I feel like it's surprisingly a little bit controversial amongst some of the people that I know because some people like really loved it and some people really hated it. And I was just kind of surprised by that, but I guess when they explained to me why they didn't like it, I understood what they were saying. I don't agree with them, but I understood what they were saying. But that's The Fabelmans, Steven Spielberg's Fabelmans. I love a movie about people wanting to make movies. It's like that's kind of like an instant win for me. So it's got that going for it. It's got I love like sort of like the memoir film where it's like loosely based on something that actually happened. I love all the actors in it. Michelle Williams, I think, is like one of the greatest actors of her generation. Paul Dano is definitely up there. I have a weird history with Paul Dano where it's like I saw him in this movie called the first time I ever saw him was in this movie called The Ballad of Jack and Rose.
Mm-hmm.
And the character he plays is just a turd, just like the biggest jackass. And so for forever, like I hated Paul Dano because of the character that he played. And then like at some point in time, I saw him in something else and he was like really good in it, completely different kind of character. And I was like, okay, maybe this guy is all right. Like maybe he's all right. You know, I started to kind of come around on him, you know, and then of course, since then he's done a lot of amazing things, including, you know, obviously the Batman being the Riddler, and being, you know, essentially the Steven Spielberg stand-in's dad in in this movie. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I loved I loved a lot of the like technical stuff and the way they sort of bring that like 1950s and 1960s world to life. I loved how like the way that Sammy is introduced to movies through I think it's called The Greatest Show on Earth is the movie that he watches, which I want to watch. I still haven't watched that. I would love it if somebody would play it in the theater, but you know, nobody's doing that right now.
Yeah.
So, but seeing that kind of stuff reminded me like of kind of the way that I was when I was a kid and like how I fell in love with movies and stuff like that. I mean, it didn't happen to me at that young of an age, but at the same time, it was like, it's that same sort of like wide-eyed, like, wow, you know, and like, even though I didn't get to do nearly as much as he did, you know, I made a few films with friends when I was a kid, you know, when I was in high school and stuff. So there's just like, you know, you find these endpoints for different things where it's like, oh, I was kind of like that. Yeah, that's kind of my story, you know, in different ways. And anytime you cast David Lynch in something as an actor, that also definitely wins points for me. And him as John Ford was like one of the greatest, you know, guest starring roles of this entire year and maybe this decade. Like, I just like absolutely fell in love with him. It's amazing. So,
oh my gosh, yeah. So to give my opinion on it, because I literally just watched it like a couple days ago. Another one I caught at home, which I'm glad I did, because there was a part where I just like bawled, and I'm like, I don't know if I'd be able to handle myself in the theater, or like, because I'd probably be like, but you know, trying to hold it in. But like at home, it's like I could just let loose, and then like rewind it a little bit and watch it again or whatever. But
yeah, pause, have a little cry.
Yeah,
you know, play again. Yeah.
Just let it out.
Oh, dude, I was like, I have no qualm in saying I am a grown man. And I was on the verge of tears almost the whole time in the theater. And I was just kind of like lucky that when I went to see that movie, there was only like a couple other people in the theater. So, you know, I could kind of do the and nobody would really know.
Oh, you could do the thing from Top Gun when he does that. When Maverick gets shot down. I love that little moment in the movie. A Hondo, that's the character. Hondo does that. He does like that. I was like, oh my god, that's perfect. So let's see. My opinion on the Fabelmans is like I liked it because I connected it with like a different way. It was like because you were talking about Marie Williams. I thought that was so sad because I thought that was like the thing that connected to me. I don't know why, but I connected to her where she loved her family, she loved her life, but she wasn't happy. She loved it, but she wasn't happy. And that the Seth Rogen character made her happy. And happy in such a way where life didn't mean anything anymore after he was gone. And I'm going to do it again. But like it was so good. That part was good, but like the Sammy and his dedication to like the movies, I thought that was like Spielberg trying to get back to his earlier roots because that was almost like his early days of filmmaking. It reminded me of that. And because in the early days, you know, when he did Close Encounters where the father gets on the ship and leaves the family behind because he didn't have kids at that point because he was only focused on himself. And then Spielberg changed after he had kids and his like kind of filmmaking changed in a certain way as well. And that kind of showed through, where Sammy was just focused on his talent, his gift. And then oh god, what was another thing in that movie? I love the David Lynch scene as well. I love that he basically calls David Lynch the greatest director of all time. Like, you want to meet the greatest director of all time? I know it's supposed to be John Ford, but he's talking about David Lynch. Come on, he's talking about David Lynch.
You chimed into the subtext.
Yeah, the subtext is that David Lynch is the greatest filmmaker of all time, hands down, no question. Oh my god! So I love how oh god, okay. So as a kid, I'm sure you were a little bit older than me, but as a kid, there was a book in the library that was all about Spielberg's movies and how he grew up. And it was like a filmography book or something. I remember like there's nothing really like it as a kid, but it was like all his like movies, and it talked about his life. And it was interesting to see some of those stories play out on the big screen of how he made his little train crash. And then like as a teenager, because I remember reading it in the library as a kid, how he would dig holes, put the board in the ground, put dirt on top of the board, so when they stepped on it, it went up. And it was clever to see that happen on screen. It was like so weird, like, oh my god, like. And not only that, but it almost feels like Spielberg's goodbye. I'm sure he'll make movies. I'm sure he's got a whole to-do
Oh,
list.
yeah. I mean, he already announced that he was going to do a remake of Bullet.
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah.
He's going to make more. But I get what you're saying. Like, it did feel like a bookend.
Yeah.
Where he's like, it felt like his way of saying, like, if there's nothing else after this, I at least want you to know that this was my story.
Yeah. Because even the end, like I compared it on Twitter to the Toy Story clouds in Toy Story 3, how like, because in Toy Story, it opens up at the clouds and goes down to the Andy playing with his toys. And in the third movie, it goes up to the clouds, real life clouds, after the story's been ended. And it kind of felt like that with the ending of this, because it's like, where's the horizon, on top or the bottom, blah, blah, blah. And then you see little Spielberg go out there, and then the camera like goes to up, and then you see the horizon. And I was like, oh my god, it felt like a fear, like it felt like a weird wraparound.
Yeah.
Like it'll wrap around. Like if you're a Spielberg fan and he started from his beginning days, like when he was on television and did all that stuff, it picks up right after that. So like if you watch The Fabelmans was his last movie, it picks up right where he started becoming a filmmaker. You know, it was weird. It was like a weird wraparound. It's almost like that theory where I think Matt Groening wanted the last Simpson episode to be they're all driving to the Christmas show, because that's where the first episode begins. Is starts with the Simpsons driving to the Christmas like show at the school, and it kind of felt like that with this. I was like, oh my god, is he done? I know he's not done, but like it seems like he's done.
Yeah. I think it's sort of his like his like final statement, you know, where it's like I said, where it's like if for some reason nothing else comes after this, like this is me, you know, a fictionalized version of him, but still,
definitely, because like there's some things that are, you know, that he probably exaggerated the truth. Because a little tangent, but I was doing research on Catch Me If You Can, and it was funny because there was an interview with Frank Abagnale. He said, well, it's true to what Spielberg was making. He's like, I had a brother and a sister. I was not an only child. I never saw my dad again. So in the movie, like he keeps seeing Christopher Walken, like, where are you going, Frank? Where are you going, Frank? And then he's like, my mother never remarried. I never saw any of that. So I'm like, okay, so Spielberg is like throwing his own package in there, his own stuff. Because I think that's kind of relates to the Fabelmans of how, like, you know, how Frank Abagnale saw that family. I'm sure Spielberg sort of felt the same way about his mom and threw that baggage into Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah. Well, I know like his, you know, the way that I understand it, and I believe that they go through this in a little bit more detail in the Spielberg documentary that's on HBO, which if anybody's watching, that's an amazing documentary. You should definitely watch it if you have HBO Max. At least as long as it might be on there, because they're cutting things like crazy left and right every day. But you know, supposedly he had a much more sort of like volatile relationship with his dad, where it was like when they got divorced, like he basically cut his dad out for like whatever, like 20 years. So that sequence that you see before the meeting with John Ford, like that didn't happen that way in real life. In real life, he was visiting cousins, I believe, in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
At that point in time, he was not really talking to his father. I mean, it might have been like a Merry Christmas, or not Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah or whatever, but it's like they weren't talking on a regular basis or whatever. So there's definitely little things. And like, I know that from what he said, it took him a lot longer to sort of make peace with his mom than it does in the film. You know, it's like they kind of, I mean, the time is compressed in the film, but they definitely kind of come together a lot quicker than they did in real life. So,
yeah, it's sort of like, it's almost like in the name, the title alone, like the fable. It's like, you know, story.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, even like Paul Dano in this movie. You already explained your history with Paul Dano. Let me explain my history with Paul Dano. So, my first Paul Dano experience was Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah, okay.
But like the first actual, like, oh my God, this is Paul Dano, was There Will Be Blood, 2007, in the theater, and there he is, fucking Eli Sunday. My God.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that may have been the movie that started to change my mind on him. Like, go ahead.
Oh yeah, but yeah, because he's been working for a long time, because there's a movie I did for research for my Kristen Stewart project, and it's called The Girl Next Door. And he's in it as like a little nerdy kid. And he's like in his teens or whatever. I'm like, oh geez, he's been working, you know, since he was a kid, basically, before even Little Miss Sunshine, because I think that was even like a couple of years beforehand, that the Girl Next Door. I think that's like 2002, 2003. So that's like, you know, a couple of years. But I was like, wow, Paul Dano's come so far. But it's so funny, whenever I look at him, I just see little Eli Sunday, like him sitting at that dinner table all covered in mud. Like, do you think you'll be forgiven for being so stupid, Abel? Love it. Okay, so that was your number 4, Fablemans?
Yeah, number 4.
Okay, so my number 4, which I have not rewatched since the theater, but I'm going to stick with it. My number 4 is Pearl by Ty West. I love Pearl. I think it's better than X, but I just rewatched X, so X is still higher. But Pearl is fantastic. I don't like Mia Goth. Like, she started, like, when I got first introduced to her, I think it was that Cure for Wellness with that Keanu guy.
Yeah, that's the same for me. Yeah.
Yep. And she's just like basically like scenery in there. She's just, you know, like a background object. She's not really a character. But like seeing her in these movies, it's like she's a fucking actor. She puts in the work. She like I miss that in actors these days, because it's always these superhero movies, or always these franchise movies. And you want to see actors act, or at least I want to. It's like I want to see that.
I'm just gonna interrupt you real quick. Go
ahead. Yep.
I don't think I've ever agreed with a tweet so much than that one that you made about Julia Butters, where it's like, don't do the superhero movies, don't do the franchises, just act. You are amazing. And I was like, yes, please.
Because Julia Butters, she's worked with Michael Bay, she's worked with Spielberg, she's worked with Tarantino. Keep fucking going. Keep going. Don't stop for nothing.
you deserve better. And I watched the Marvel movies, I watched the comic book movies, but you deserve better than that, Julia Butters.
Oh my God. Yeah, don't be a Zoe Saldana. Don't do that. Don't. Oh my God. There's just like, don't be a Chris Pine. Oh my God.
You know what's just as an aside, I promise I won't go too long on this, but just as an aside, what's crazy to me about Zoe Saldana is like, she's in like a fair amount of like non-comic book movies. Like, she probably does at least one non-comic book movie a year. Nobody ever sees them. Like,
I haven't even heard of them.
They just all of them completely go under the radar. You know, you never hear about them. Nobody ever watches them. And it's like, she's a great actress. And I'm sure those movies are probably good. But it's like, people are so cued into her as like a Uhura or a Marvel character. And I love Star Trek. So don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to bag on Star Trek, but like,
don't bag on it, Stuart.
You know, bag on it.
Don't bag on it.
That's all they, you know, you get so like associated with that, that that's all anybody wants to see you in. And that's what I think is happening with what's his name too, the Chris that everybody hates.
Oh, Chris Purnell or Chris Pratt?
Chris Pratt, yeah. It's like
he is so bored. I'm so sorry for him. He's so bored.
Yeah, he's just like in crappy action movie after crappy action movie because it's like that's all anybody will watch him in.
It's sad.
So, but sorry, I
no. Let's continue this because this is a good conversation for a live thing. But exactly with Chris Pratt, because he had an energy in Jurassic World. He still had it for Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Something fucking happened where he phoned in his performance for the Dominion. He phoned in his performance for Thor and Love and Thunder. He is not in it.
Yeah,
like there's something gone in his eyes. Like it's present. He's not there.
He's got that glassy-eyed look.
Yeah, where he's just doing it for the paycheck at this point. And that makes me sad because he really did have an energy. He really had some, character thing going on, but now it's gone. And with Zoe Saldana, I think the last movie that I seen her that was not a Marvel movie was Columbiana. And that's like 2015 at this point, maybe even 2016, around that era. But like, it's been a while since I've seen her in anything. And like I was saying earlier, Chris Pine, like, I don't know who his agent is. They keep trying to throw him in these franchise movies, and it's aggravating the shit out of me because he delivered such an amazing performance in Hell or High Water. It's like, let him fucking do that. Stop putting him in these big movies. Stop putting him in fucking Dragons. What's it? Dungeons and Dragons. And then there was that Wrinkle in Time movie, and then
nobody watched.
Nobody watched, and then the Jack Ryan that nobody watched. It's even forgotten. It's already been rebooted.
I actually did watch that in the theater because I was like, at the time, I didn't have anything else to do. And I was like, oh, Chris Pine's, pretty good. Like, maybe this will be a cool action movie. And then I watched it and I was like,
oh, yeah.
I was like, this isn't going anywhere.
Going to the comments, Brando says that Zoe Saldana got shafted in Avatar 2, which is true. Like, she's hardly an Avatar 2.
Seen that.
If you've seen the first one, you've basically seen the second one. Yep.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's not good. But hang on, I got one more comment, and then we can move on to me finishing up Pearl. Just remember, saw Zoe in Amsterdam this year. Oh yeah, Amsterdam, another one where nobody saw.
I didn't see that either.
I didn't see it either. I didn't see it. I had no interest.
But okay, here I'm looking at her IMDb right now. Yes. So she is in, obviously her latest is Avatar, but she's also in 8 episodes of something called From Scratch. She was in Amsterdam, that Netflix movie, The Adam Project. I don't know anybody who's seen that.
Yeah, it was like the largest watched Netflix thing, and no one talked about it on Twitter.
Yeah. 9 episodes of something called Maya and the Three. It looks like she's doing a lot of voice work.
Okay.
She's in something called Vampires versus the Bronx, Boss Bitch Fight Challenge. The Story Takes 5. I mean, she's in a lot of stuff other than comic book movies. It's just that you never hear about any of it.
Yeah. So she might be one of those actors that are just stuck on TV shows like Paul Giamatti. Because there was a long time I'm like, where the hell's Paul Giamatti? He was in he showed up in San Andreas. I'm like, where the fuck he's been, And then I found out he's like on season 7 of some show that's on Amazon or something.
It's Billions on Showtime.
Is it?
Yeah. And I think now they're in they might be on season 9 or 10 now.
Yeah, it's
been doing that for a long time.
Yeah. But there's just some actors out there. I'm like, I want to see act, but I don't know. It's just not out there anymore.
Yeah.
But getting back to Pearl. Let's get back to Pearl. So Pearl is fantastic. Mia Goth is so great. And I love how it's like highly saturated. I love how they came up with the idea while filming X. And they just pitched the idea to A24, and A24 is like, yeah, sure, whatever. Repaint the sets, do whatever, film it. And they only needed 5 actors in the movie. Maybe there's a couple more because there's some, side characters in there, but it's like a total of cast of 20 maybe. And they made another movie while filming X. And to me, it's so creative, and it's so funny that they're creating a cinematic universe with low budget and being super creative and doing whatever the hell they want. And her performance at the end when she gives that like I don't even know how long the speech is. I think it's like 15 minutes or something. I know it's long. It's like she just sits there and just pours out her soul to that blonde girl. And it's just amazing. I really love Pearl. Pearl is fantastic. I can't wait for Maxine. So
yeah,
that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts on Pearl?
So I liked X. I wasn't like over the moon about it. And when they announced Pearl, I was like, okay. Like I mean, I liked X enough to where I'll go watch it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched Pearl and I was like, this is it. Like this is the one. Like Pearl actually made my top films of the year list.
Yes.
X did not. Like X was like almost there, but not
Mm-hmm.
quite, you know, but Pearl definitely did.
Mm-hmm.
Like Pearl felt like something completely original, whereas X felt like there was a lot of influences very obvious influences that you could see, and it's like, oh, I get it. He's doing this and he's doing this and he's doing this. Whereas Pearl just felt like completely like his own thing. You know, Mia Goth felt like that was a completely original character for her. I mean, it was just, I don't know, something about it for me was just like shot it into the stratosphere over X.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I loved it. And I also love like seeing things kind of like from that era where it's like, you know, 1920, like 1910s, 1920s. Like I like that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's on my top films of the year, not top 5, but definitely top films of the year.
Yeah.
So.
And I thought it was like really cute because in the movie, like she has to wear like a little mask. I'm like, because it's COVID. And they worked it into the movie because there was like an illness during the 1910s, 1920s, whatever it was. And I was like, that's clever.
Yeah, Spanish flu, yeah.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was so great to seeing that. But yeah, I loved Pearl. Highly recommend Pearl. Who, if you have not seen Pearl, see Pearl. And it kind of works like if you see Pearl first, then X, maybe it'll build up X for people who haven't seen those movies, because I think it does.
I actually would like to go back and do it in that reverse order, because yeah, it might make X a little bit more impactful.
Because I think that's why I liked X. That's why, spoilers, X is my 3. But I think it's because it's elevated. It elevated it because I knew Pearl's story. Since you know what Pearl went through and all her struggles and all her wants and dreams, it elevates her character in X. So it's like, oh, okay, that's where that character is. It's deeper than what you think it is. She's gone through all this before, and yeah, but I'll talk on that on X. But
I feel like when you watch X, if you watch them in the order that they were released in, you watch X, you see the Pearl character, and you're just like, it's just weird and creepy, and like if it almost kind of feels like, I mean, there's definitely a bigger message there that he's going for, but at the same time, it feels kind of like creepy and gross to be creepy and gross. And then you watch Pearl, and all of a sudden, like all that stuff comes into context, and it's like, oh, okay, now all of this makes sense. So
yeah. But yeah, that's all I have to say about Pearl, because Pearl is fantastic. I like it.
Because you're going to say the rest when you get to X.
Yes.
I see what you're doing.
I see what you did. Okay, so what's your number 3, Stuart?
Number 3 is a movie called After Yang. It is let me sort of like read the
synopsis.
Yeah, because I think it's important to, you know, sort of understand what the general gist of it is before I start talking about it. So the letterbox synopsis is: when his young daughter's beloved companion, an android named Yang, malfunctions, Jake searches for a way to repair him. In the process, Jake discovers the life that has been passing in front of him, reconnecting with his wife and daughter across a distance he didn't know was there. So this was directed by a guy who goes by the name Kogonada, and he made an amazing film several years ago called Columbus, which was just about like 2 people that kind of meet by circumstance in the town of Columbus. I think it's Indiana, which is like it's like known for like all this like modern architecture just all happens to be in this one town. So it's like kind of a tourist destination. And they kind of meet there and like have sort of like I don't want to say a love story, but like they connect, you know? And I love that movie. So when he finally announced that he was doing a follow-up, I was like, yes, I'm there. And After Yang was his follow-up. And like, it takes place in like sort of a near future where it's like, it's clearly the future. Like they have self-driving cars and like, there's, you know, there's little like technological advances and stuff like that, but it's still like, it's still close enough to what we are today that it doesn't feel like you're in the Jetsons or something like that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It feels realistic. And that's something that I love is like near future. The fact that the whole thing is sort of based around him Jake is the main character played by Colin Farrell, who has 3 amazing roles this year.
I was gonna say I didn't want to interrupt you, but I'm like, Colin Farrell is like on a roll this year.
Yeah,
he's aiming for Christian Bale,
the Batman, and the Banshees of Inisherin. So he was very busy this year.
Yes.
He was hitting home runs.
Yep.
But he plays Jake, and his daughter, like Yang is this android who like is sort of like a pseudo parent essentially to the daughter, or sort of like not really a parent, but sort of like a authority figure who's also her friend essentially. And he dies. Okay. And like normally these androids have like a normal lifespan or whatever, but apparently his was like shorter than they thought it was supposed to be. So there's all these rules about like androids and how you can, like, once they die, what you can do with them, what you can recover. So like he kind of goes through this journey where he has to like break the law and get people to like go in, recover the memories and all this other stuff. But it's all about like, the whole movie is about like memory, family, like, you know, developing good relationships and like taking care of those relationships while you can, like while they're here, because you never know when somebody's going to leave this world.
Yeah.
You know, and even though Yang is an android, he's not a human. They are like, once an android dies, they can't restart them essentially. You know, like they could put new power units or whatever they call them into it, but the process of doing so would completely destroy his memory, and they would have to wipe it and he would restart all over again. So he wouldn't remember anything, you know? So basically, like, once an android dies, it's dead. Like they completely recycle it and they go away essentially. So yeah, the whole thing is just about like taking care of the relationships that you have while you have them. So, and I'm at a place in my life where I'm really connecting with that message.
Yeah, same here. Because this Christmas I wanted to make sure everyone knew how I thought about them. Because I don't know why. I wanted to make sure like, you matter, you're appreciated, you mean a lot to me, and that sounds like a movie that's like right up my alley. Just to see that on screen, basically, because there's just, you never know, and you're never sure how much you mean to somebody, or if they know how much you mean to them. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah, it's an important message these time and age, just because I think no matter how much technology we have, it'll never really, have that bond of like memories and love and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't want to go too far down this road, but I just want to say, like, my grandmother lived to be 102. She was just shy of 103 when she passed away. And this was at least a decade ago that she passed away. And like, I literally, like, I never thought that this was possible. I always heard people say this, but I never thought it was actually possible. But like, dude, I miss her every day. You
Yeah.
know, like every day I think about her.
Mhm.
You know, and that was I think one of the reasons like why I connected with this so much. And there are like friends that I don't hear from anymore that we've kind of like lost touch over the years or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's just like I don't know. I think that like it's a really beautiful film about, you know, like I said, just like doing your best to like keep up the relationships you have while you have them.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
my little aside.
It's okay, Stir, because that's a good message to get across. Just because there's people that stick with you for your whole life,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's a beautiful thing. This this world we live in, we just got to stop around and just appreciate it every once in a while. Okay, so let's get out of the heaviness. My number three, my number three is X.
Out of the heaviness and into the blood.
Into the blood. All right, so X. So like you said, because you said it was a negative, but I kind of see it as a positive. I like the references to films, past films in the movie, because it's like, I know that. I don't know. It's something better, something that I don't know. Hang on. Let's start that thought again. That is much better than something like the Batman, which just steals text. If you're paying tribute to it, it's more like what X did. Oh, you're paying tribute to it. It's like a similar shot, but you're not stealing blatant text. You know, you're not stealing the like opening line of Seven. Like, did the kids see it? It's like Jesus Christ, Batman. At least change the script a bit, a little. Oh my God. But yeah, it's just so I love X. I love like the references to other things. I love the setups. Like in the background, it's playing that preacher, and you're like, what's the preacher got to do with anything? And at the end, that pays off. I love that little cute thing where it opens up by 4x3 and the camera leaves the bar, and I'm like, oh, that's great. That's wonderful. Um, and it's so cool just to see that cast because oh my god, A Star is Born, Jenna Ortega, and Mia Goth in the same movie. Like, they're so great. I love them because Jenna was in Scream earlier this year, and then she was in X, and now she's like a superstar now because of the Wednesday show. Everyone
Yeah.
watched Wednesday. But yeah, she's an up and coming talent. And Mia Goth is great in this. She's playing two roles, which I didn't know until afterwards. So I was like, oh shit, she played both roles. And it was kind of funny because I was watching the movie and I was like, it's giving me like that Back to the Future Part 2 vibes with like the old age stuff. And it kind of matches with that movie too, Back to the Future Part 2, because it's about getting old and not and not living up to your dreams or your wants because like little older George McFly and older Lorraine, they didn't live up to their dreams of their childhood where he wanted to be a rock star and all that. And that kind of goes with this movie, and it matched because the old age makeup. I was like, oh shit, that's great. And then who else is in it? It's like, oh yeah, the guy who played Wayne. Wayne was cool, but I just watched it yesterday. I'm like, yeah, I was trying to think of things. Let's go to the comments because while I'm thinking of my thought and processing it, there was a comment about X. I love both Ty West horror films this year. I liked X a little more due to the bizarre relationship between the antagonist and bookending it, the TV preacher and the one like, oops, spoilers. Yes, the preacher at the end comes in, and the landslide sequence is so great, and because it like tells you to the audience like this is what this is about.
Yeah.
But it means a lot more after because I was watching movies to catch up, so I rewatched X yesterday, and knowing what happens in Pearl and watching X, it elevated it up to my number 3, or at least kept it in my number 3 because I think there were some movies that swapped around, but it kept X in my top 5. So, what are your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on X that you haven't said?
No, I don't think so that I haven't already said. Like I liked it, but I just liked Pearl more.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I assume we're both looking forward to Maxine.
Oh yeah.
Oh
definitely.
Yeah. I can't wait to see where that goes. I think it'll be just predictions, Rich Evans predictions. I think it's going to be Maxine is losing her star power and she has to kill the up and coming people coming up because she's a star. She's a bright shining star and no one can't take that star away from her, you know?
That would be interesting.
Yep. It like kind of circles around. Like she becomes the killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She basically becomes Pearl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though she became a star, but now her star is fading because
Mhm.
the invention of VHS tape and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think that's going to be in there too. Because she's like probably the film star of the '70s, but now the '80s are coming, and so now it's going to be that sad sequence from Boogie Nights.
Dude, every time I watch that film, it's like that sequence is so hard to get through. You're talking about the limousine thing, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is
Like,
rough, dude.
Yeah, that scene is so rough because it's like they even set that up too because Ashley Graham, or not Ashley Graham, that's the model, Heather Graham. Heather Graham was in the high school, and there's that guy who teases her, and it's the same guy in the limo, and it's like, oh shit, and then he totally deserves what he got, and then poor Burt Reynolds, he's trying to keep up with the technology, he just can't, and then poor Marky Mark, he's too broke, and then poor Thomas Jane, he don't make it.
The only person that came out of that good was Don Cheadle.
Yes, and he deserved it too because he worked hard. He had like legitimate money to make a business, and they wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
so that's good. That's good. Okay, so is it your number 3? No, wait, we already did 3, so it's 2.
Yeah. 2. So we're gonna see if we line up on 2 as well.
Oh God.
My number 2 is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Damn it, we didn't line up. Damn it.
Okay.
Damn it, I thought we would because my number 2 I know you love.
This movie was just came completely out of left field. Mm-hmm. I had heard good things about it, but I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. But I felt like it was this like blast of like just different genres and like different like just all this stuff like put into one, like smash into one thing. It's the everything bagel. You know, it's like they talk about the everything bagel in the movie. It's like this movie is the everything bagel. They put everything on it. And it talks so much about like, you know, basically just like loving the choices, trying to love the choices that you made in life and accepting the choices that you've made in life. Because there's always alternates. There's always like different realities where it's like, if you would have chosen to do this, you'd be in a different place. If you had chosen to do that, you'd be in a different place. And like, but the thing is like, you chose what you chose and you're here and you have to make the best of here now. And I don't know. I just like, it's just such a wild, like, kick in the ass of a film. Yeah. And seeing it in the theater was like, it's like, you know, that, I think it's Maxell, that old Maxell commercial where it's like the guy sitting in the chair.
Oh yeah. With he's like sitting there with his like the sunglasses and the tie.
Yeah. And the stereo is blasting so much that he's like getting, that's how I felt when I was watching Everything Everywhere All at Once. So yeah. I don't know what to say about the film itself because I feel like it's so complex.
It's everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that it's like if I start talking about it, I'm probably going to start giving away random things. It's like just go see it. If you're watching this and you haven't watched it, like go see it. It's incredible. Especially if you like, you know, kung fu stuff and
if you like film. Jesus, if you love film.
Yeah, if you like film,
go see it. Oh my God. Because there's like everything in there. Like you got like a little bit of Fight Club, you got a little bit of The Matrix, you got a little bit of like 12 Monkeys, you got a little bit of like every sci-fi movie.
There's a little bit of Aliens where the guy shows up in the exoskeleton thing. Yep. It's like the loader from Aliens.
The power loader, yep.
Yeah.
And there's like a sequence in there too, because like I remember I think me and my friend Kirk, we loved The Mask with Jim Carrey. And we always thought like you could go rated R with that because the comic books are all bloody. They're like the comic book is more violent than the movie is. The comic book is almost like a Deadpool sort of kind of thing, but you know, crazier. And there's a sequence in this movie that I'm like, holy shit, that's The Mask. Like that's my idea. Like if I ever do a Mask movie, that is it. I'm going to do spoilers in this scene because, like, if you watch the movie, you'd be like, yes, that's the mask. But like when the daughter's walking down the hallway in that Elvis outfit, and the cops come, and then like she starts changing them into like a little margarita dancers or whatever, and then like
Yeah.
explodes their head with balloons, and then turns into a sumo wrestler or whatever. That
Mhm.
is all the mask. I was like, holy shit, that's exactly what a mask movie would be. Would be that sequence. Um,
Yeah.
I did love the movie. It's one of those movies on Letterboxd where I did not rate it because it was a lot to digest, and I still don't know how to rate it because I don't want to talk down on the movie because it's a well-made movie, but it was definitely one of those movies where it's like cut something. Um, because towards like it builds up, builds up, builds up, and then like you get to that moment and there's like still movie left, and it's like it's one of those bad movies where it's like, oh, there's still movie left.
Yeah.
How much is left? But it's not that I don't want to talk bad on the sequence because it's a nice sequence. It's when they're like rocks. When it
Mhm.
gets to that point where it just feels like it's just flat line for me, and then it kind of like I don't know. I think Red Letter Media explains it much better than I did because they had the same experience I did, where it like it's a little too much of everything. Because
Yeah.
towards the end, it kind of just like deflates. It doesn't bring me home. It deflates towards the end, where I'm like, yeah, that's a good conclusion. But yeah, I other than that, it's a great movie, well made. I don't want to talk bad on your number two, but it's a great movie, and there's a lot of good in it. Like the guy who played Short Round is fantastic
Yeah.
actor.
Ki Hai Kwan.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
great, fantastic. I'm glad that they sought him out and they wanted him to be in the movie, and that's just wonderful. And I love there's
Honestly,
like
dude, I really hope that this movie relaunches his career. I mean, I know that he's done some stuff, before and since, but like he was amazing in this. And
yes,
I really hope
fantastic.
it kind of like brings him back into the
Hmm.
spotlight.
Yeah, but
And the girl that played the daughter, like,
fantastic.
yeah, she was amazing, playing so many different, well, not so many different roles. She was really only kind of like two roles, but
Yeah.
like doing all the stuff that she was doing in that movie was
Hmm.
crazy to me.
Yeah. And even like James Hong, who's been working in the business for like the longest time, still doing it, and it's still amazing.
I
It's
think he
awesome.
has like the most. I think he has the most credits of anybody on IMDb.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but I think he has the highest amount.
I think that's true. Honestly, I think that's true because he's been working, oh my God, since he was his 20s, probably
Yeah, I
forever.
mean, he's like in his 80s or 90s now, so he's been working for like 50 or 60 years.
And
Yeah.
he's been in like everything too. He's been like in Seinfeld, Blade Runner, uh, Big Trouble in Little China, like, everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great movie. Oh, of course, let's not forget about her, Jamie Lee Curtis, probably her best movie of the year.
Oh, oh,
Just saying, just saying. I love Halloween Ends. It's one of those movies where I love it even more when people hate it. Like, yeah, I love it more. But it's like, Everywhere All at Once is probably Jamie Lee Curtis' best film of the year.
yeah. It's definitely a different role than I think I've ever seen her play in
Yep,
anything.
yep.
So it
And I
was
don't
it
know,
was
but
kind of cool to see her like go in a different, way for
yeah,
that.
and it's like multiple roles because she's sort of playing like the mindless drone. She's playing
Yeah.
the loving woman. She's playing the social worker or whatever it is, the tax woman. But yeah,
Yeah, that's actually, I mean, I think I said this in a more sort of generic way, but that's one of the things I love about it is you get to see different versions of how people might have evolved in their
mhm,
lives when you see like sort of the different versions of the metaverse or whatever you want to call it. It's
yeah,
like, you see Jamie Lee Curtis in this one way, and she's like sort of Michelle Yeoh's enemy, and then like a different universe had paths taken differently. They're like a couple. And yeah, I don't want to go too far into it because I don't want to like spoil things, but I probably just did spoil something.
no, that's
But,
fine. That's fine. It's very generic what you spoiled. So
yeah, but yeah, that's one of the things I love. There's actually there's a filmmaker who I love named Wong Kar Wai, and there's a short sequence in the film where they basically kind of create like a little like Wong Kar Wai film for like one scene, and like Ki Hai Kwan is like sort of the like I don't want to say debonair, but he's sort of like the lover man in like the suit and tie, and like he's suave and smooth, like the complete opposite of who like his like prime character is in this universe. And like they do, it's technical, but it's like they even like recreate the kind of like this kind of like specific camera effect that Wong Kar-wai does for that specific scene. It's like they recreate like the colors that he uses and all that, and it's just like, it's beautiful.
I think that's like my favorite scene in the movie too. Right before he walks away, he says that line. I'm not going to spoil that, but
yeah,
he says something. I was like, oh man, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, Everywhere All at Once. Go see it. Go check it out. It's a great movie.
If anybody's watching this, if you ever have a chance to see it on the big screen, if some local theater happens to like be like, hey, we're going to show this at midnight, or we're going to show it this weekend or something, like, please go see it that way. Because in a big screen with great sound and, you know, a 30-foot high screen or whatever, it is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's go to my number 2.
Number 2. Getting closer to number 1.
I'm not prepared. Okay. So my number 2, and I thought we were going to match it, but I'm like, yeah, it's not going to be there. The Black Phone.
Oh, okay. Nice.
The Black Phone was, I think, just like Top Gun. They kept showing that trailer for the last 3 years. You jump back and you hit, and they've been playing that trailer for 2-3 years, whatever the pandemic was. It was that and Top Gun. They kept showing that trailer. There was even a time where they were going to release it, and then they pulled back. We're like, nope, we're going to wait. We're going to release it in like September or whatever, and then they pulled back to like February or some shit. It was weird.
Now that you say that, I actually remember seeing billboards for it in LA before I left.
Holy shit, that is a long time ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So for those who don't know, The Black Phone is a lovely, lovely film based on a short story by Stephen King's son, where a kid gets kidnapped. There's a phone in the basement. It's not connected. He's locked in there. He's been kidnapped. His sister has abilities. They're kind of explained, not really. Powers. EBGB powers. They're only dreams. They're just dreams. And then
they're like pictures in a book, Doc.
Yep, exactly.
They can't hurt you.
And it's got Stewart's favorite actor of all time, the OG, Ethan Hawke. I just wanted to look at you.
Just wanted to look at you.
I just wanted to look at you. That's such a great line. It's got to be a meme, damn it. I'm going to push it. I'm going to keep pushing that meme. I just wanted to look at you.
You're gonna like Photoshop my face over Bradley Cooper's face and then put Ethan Hawke's face on Lady Gaga's body.
No, I'm talking about the freaking scene in The Black Phone when the kid wakes up and it's Ethan Hawke wearing the mask and he says, I just wanted to look at you.
Oh, I thought you were talking about A Star is Born.
No, not A Star is Born. Not Bradley Cooper's. Not Bradley Cooper.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Again, we didn't align.
Yeah.
I thought our number 2 line, but we didn't align.
What the hell are we doing with a podcast together? We're not.
Stewart, don't say that. Take that back. Okay. Take that back. You didn't mean that. Yeah. Okay. So, Black Phone. Well, hang on. I can hear echo. Can you turn me down before we go too far? There we go. Okay. I don't hear myself anymore because I heard like an echo on your end from me. So, okay. Audio's good. Okay. So, Black Phone. I loved Black Phone, and finishing up the storyline. So the kids in the basement gets phone calls from the dead phone, and they give him little clues because all the other kids that got kidnapped did something to help him escape. Maybe I said too much with spoilers, but that's the basic plot. It's great. That's basically the trailer too. And but yeah, it's the journey. It's the journey you go on, and it takes you some highs, it takes you some lows. There's some great needle drops. There's great acting by kids.
The best use of a Pink Floyd song in a movie probably ever.
Yes. And the kid actors are excellent. Every single one of them. It was like almost like the back in like harken to the days of like the 90s where you watch something like Sandlot, where it's like, holy shit, you actually went through and hired these kids to be great actors. And almost even like more recently, I think it did a good job hiring kid actors, but this one was just fantastic with the kid actors. And Ethan Hawke, he does a good job. Apparently, they're going to make a sequel to this or a prequel, and it's going to be more about Ethan Hawke's character. But I'm like, all right, fine, sure, I got it. The only part where this movie goes a little too goofy is the brother. I think you know what I'm talking about.
James Ransone, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Who was also in the second It movie.
Yes, the worst movie. I hate It Chapter 2, for the record. Yeah. I hate it. I don't want to go into that here, but because that's a whole other thing. But yeah, he was the uncle in this, or the brother, I should say. And no. But the sister was great, excellent.
Yeah, the sister was really good.
And the character actor, I know him from his movies. I know him from Lost. I know him from Twister. I'm sure you know who he is. He was in Spank the Monkey or whatever it's called. That was his first movie.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Jeremy something. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but he was great too.
Davies.
Yeah, he's been a hard worker since the 90s, and it was great to see him in this as the old drunken dad, and that was fun.
It's weird because like he's got such a massive range, but I feel like lately for like the past couple of years he's mostly just played like low down assholes basically. Like I don't know if you ever watched the Twin Peaks, like the Twin Peaks series that they came out with in like 2018, where it was like a limited series of like 18 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But he plays sort of like a enforcer, like a gang, not a gang, but like a mob enforcer in that, I guess.
Is he in Twin Peaks?
Yeah.
What?
Not very much, but I think he may only be in one episode.
Okay, that might be it. Because I was like, wait, what? Because I watched that. I was like into it. I was like hooked on in. So yeah, if he played like one episode, yeah, then
it's the one you probably remember this. The one where Naomi Watts' character goes to the playground.
No shit, that's right. He's the one she had to pay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one episode.
He's one of the two guys that's there to collect the money or whatever.
Yeah.
And she has one of my favorite lines. And you probably, like, people who are watching this, if they haven't watched Twin Peaks, you're probably not going to understand this out of context. But she's just laying into these guys. Like, how dare you? I can't believe you do this. Like my husband had, you had no right taking advantage of my husband. She's like, we're normal, average people. We drive terrible cars. And that just like makes me crack up every single time when she's like, we drive terrible cars.
Terrible. And that's just like a David Lynch line. I could hear him saying that.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Lynchiest line probably at least in that episode, and maybe one of the top 10 Lynchy lines in that whole series.
We drive terrible. So yeah, that would explain why I don't remember, because it's like that is only like the one episode, and that's the day where she has to go pay the money. So that makes sense. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on The Black Phone?
Oh, I love The Black Phone. I actually saw it twice in theaters, which there's not that many films that I've seen that I go see twice in theaters.
Right.
I think Black Phone, Top Gun. Like I didn't even see Everything Everywhere All at Once twice in theaters. But like, wow, I think that may be it this year as far as like multiple viewing theater visits. Yeah, I think those are the only two this year. So, and then I when the Blu-ray came out, I ended up buying that and watching it. Mm-hmm. I've already watched it again. I love it. I think it's great. It's to me, it's endlessly rewatchable.
Yes.
Because there's not like it's not a movie that's predicated on having a twist.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like twist or anything to it.
None.
So
Nope.
it's like it's not like other movies, other like horror movies where it's like you watch it once, you see the twist, and then it's never as good
Yeah.
afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I can just rewatch it over and over again. I
Mm-hmm.
love everybody's performances in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the kids especially. Ethan Hawke is great.
Mm-hmm.
I love Jeremy Davies. I love the production design in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, because I think it takes place in 79, I
I think
believe, is the
so.
year.
I think
And
so.
everything in it feels like very authentic, feels very lived in. It doesn't feel like we're making a movie about the 70s. It feels like it is the 70s. It feels like if you put it up against any other movie made in the 70s, like you wouldn't know that it wasn't made in the 70s.
Oh my God, Stuart. Yes, yes. Exactly. Because I love time period movies. I know you didn't like it because you're basically it's a movie, but West Side Story. I remember watching West Side Story and be like, oh my God, this feels like they're right in the 50s. Like it doesn't feel like they're anywhere else or 60s or whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever. But it
50s,
looked,
yeah.
yeah, it looked like that time period. I was like, holy shit. So same thing with the Black Phone, where it's just like it felt like something from the 70s. And if you were to drop that movie in the 70s, it would probably be the same exact thing. I thought they were very clever with how they shot in the basement because it could be very boring. It could be very
Yeah.
boring to shoot in that basement, but somehow they found different ways to film it, different angles. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love the Black
and
Phone.
and I love too how he had there was a relatively limited number of ways that he could have potentially gotten out of the basement, but the way that they used all those ways was like really like they just did a really good job of using that so it didn't look ridiculous or they
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 were all
weren't like
realistic. Yep.
yeah, they weren't trying to use them over and over again. Like, oh, this is my second chance, second time or third time trying to do this. It's like they figured out a couple of different ways and they used those to the best of their ability.
And
And
how they all tied together.
yeah,
Like literally
yeah.
everything tied together. All those different escape attempts had a
Mm-hmm,
different piece that needed for the final escape.
mm-hmm.
And it was even like I remember watching the scene when he's trying to break out of the freezer. Spoilers, but he's trying to break into the freezer. I'm like, why the hell did he break into the freezer? And then it fucking pays off. I love when movies pay off. They don't pay off anymore, Stuart. They don't set up these things anymore and they don't pay them off. It's like moments of Halloween 2 where the cop gives Loomis the lighter and Loomis is just like, all right, keep the lighter. And then it comes in later. Those days are gone. I miss those days. And this
Yeah.
movie had full of those things where it's set up and it pays off. I was like, yes. But yeah, I love the Black Phone.
I was rewatching that this is an aside,
Yeah.
but I was rewatching that Best of the Worst with Jack Quaid. Is that what his name is?
Jack Quaid. Yep.
Yeah. The one with like Bog and what is it, 100,000 BC or something like
Yep.
that?
100 million BC or 10 million BC. And then it was Stone Cold and then the Bog.
That's what it was.
Natural Bog, baby.
And they were talking about Stone Cold, and that was one of the things that they were talking about is how like that movie would actually set things up and then pay it off later, which they were blown away because it's like not a very good movie. They were never expecting that, but they were like they legitimately would set up things and then pay them off. So
I need to see Stone Cold just to see that. Put that fucking harmonica away. Oh my God. But anyway, that's our number. Oh, that's my number 2. So we're here, Stuart. It's all led up to this.
Ta-da!
I think you should do it. You lead the way. Tell us what our number 1 is. Everyone knows what it is.
I feel like you actually are more excited about it than I am. I mean, I'm pretty excited about it, but I feel like you're even more excited. But if you want me to do it, I'll do it. But I'm just saying you can do it if you want.
Stuart, you need to say what the number 1 is because I can't go in, like this. We got to take it easy. We can't go in at 100. We got to take it slow.
we got to go into the danger zone. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, our number one film, which we actually synced up on for probably the only time ever in the history of Frank and Stewart, is Top Gun Maverick. The greatest film of 2022.
The greatest cinema ever. I always joke about it too, where poor Christopher Nolan is like, I want to save cinema.
And then Tom Cruise was like, I'll do it. No problem.
I'll do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Chris, I watched Tenet. I'll save cinema.
Yeah. I've seen your Tenet film. Not quite my tempo. So
and then Christopher Nolan got all pissy about it. He was like, I'm gonna remake an atomic explosion.
Oh, that's true. That'll get him. And Spielberg's like, well, I'm gonna hire David Lynch. And he's like, so Christopher Nolan is just like fuming right now. And he's gonna get annihilated by Barbie.
Yeah. Christopher Nolan's like, oh, Spielberg, you're gonna hire David Lynch? Well, guess what? I'll hire all of Hollywood for Oppenheimer.
And it'll still flop because Barbie will be the number one movie for the year. I'm seeing Barbie over Oppenheimer. I don't care.
Day one. I'm a day one Barbie guy.
Day one Barbie guy. Forget the guy from Jurassic Park on the little Nedry computer. I gotta see Barbie. Okay, Stuart. So with Top Gun, like, where do we start? Like, do we start from the beginning? Do we start in 2020 when we're waiting for it to come out? Where do we start, Stuart?
I was going to do a Dark Knight joke, but I won't.
Do it. No one's watching. Do it.
Let's start at the beginning. All these cops and lawyers.
He did it, guys. He did it.
It's sad because I don't really remember the rest of the speech, but what I do remember is when he goes, "What's the matter? Your balls drop off?"
Yeah. All these cops and lawyers, they wouldn't dare touch any of you. I mean, what happened? Did your balls fall off? You see, a guy like me. He does that thing too. I forgot where it goes, but I used to have it memorized. But alas, I don't remember.
Dude, I remember being in the theater when that movie came out, and the part where it's like he opens his jacket and like pulls on the little string, and like literally everybody was like, "Oh shit!" Like in the theater, like that was just like that was like a moment in cinema, because you never seen a character like open a jacket full of grenades, and he has a little string. He's like,
What's not a blow? That's out of proportion.
Yeah.
He was walk in here and walk away
in a way that, like, even, I mean, I feel like Jack Nicholson had been pretty psychotic in the 89 Batman, but he was like, he took it up a notch in a way that, like, it just had never been done. I feel like, at least not in the live action. Like, I'm not that familiar with the animated movies, but in the live action movies, he just took that to another level.
Yeah. But the aha moment for me in my theater was when the Bat Pod went on the wall. That blew everyone away.
Yeah. That was a great moment. Yeah.
Yes.
But Top Gun Maverick. Okay.
Yeah, I guess we got to talk about it. So, okay. So where are we starting with this, Stuart?
So this movie was supposed to come out in 2020. For some reason, they decided to push it back a little bit. I don't know why.
Something happened. I don't know.
There was something that happened, and they were like, maybe we'll release it a little bit later or whatever. But yeah, so COVID happens, and they're like, Bruckheimer and Cruise, and I don't know whether Joseph Kosinski really had any choice or not, but the Bruckheimer and Cruise were like, we're not, like, it's theater or nothing. Like, we're not doing this, crap it out on HBO Max thing.
No.
Like, we're doing it in the theater. And and they stuck by their word. I mean, there was a point in 2021 that they held it for a year. There was a point in 2021 where it was like most theaters were open, but a lot of people still weren't going back. They could have released it,
And Tom Cruise was like, "No, we're waiting."
He was like, "No, we are waiting until because these sons of bitches are going to show up for this.
Yes,
I know it." And they did. They did. That movie was there all summer. I mean, locally here, it was in theaters for at least 4 or 5 months minimum. Like, I think it may have even been 6 months.
Yeah. I think officially, like on the news when they read it, I think they said 7 months. And like that is like the longest time for like a movie. I think like mine was here until at least November.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like mid-November. Then finally it started falling off.
I think where I was, it was like somewhere like early to mid-October, and they closed it because then it came back like at the beginning of December or something for like a week, But yeah, when I was growing up, there was no streaming, and the windows were a lot wider. So it's like a movie might be in the theater for like 3 or 4 months, maybe even 5 months if it was like really popular. Then it would go to the discount theater, which they don't have those anymore, basically. I mean, there might be a few still around, but they basically don't have them anymore. You would go to the discount theater, spend like a couple of weeks or months there, depending on how popular it was.
Yeah.
And then like in a year after it was released, then you could go to Blockbuster and rent it. So the windows are like crazy short now, where it's like most movies are in theaters for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and that's if they're really popular.
If that, exactly.
Yeah. There's a lot of movies. It's like you like, there are movies that play at my local art house and they have them for like 2 or 3 days. That's it. Like, that's all they're scheduled for. And they say it. They're like, "Hey, we're going to have this Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's all it's playing." Or it'll be for a week and that's it, So it's wild to me that they were able to pull off that kind of a stay in all of these theaters. But like, the movie is so good. Like, I remember the last time I went to go see it, it was like me and this like older couple. They were probably in like their late 50s, early 60s. That we were the only people in the theater. And I remember getting out of the theater, and the guy like, I'm a total stranger. Like, he doesn't know me. And this guy's like, "Man, that movie was amazing, wasn't it?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty awesome." And he's like, we had this whole like 5-minute conversation, about how incredible it was. Like, he was floored by it. So
yeah, to me, Top Gun is one of those movies that like I always hope for, because that means you could talk to anybody about it. Because there's some movies out there, it's like, yeah, I can't recommend Elvis to you. You're just like, it's like, I know you can't handle that kind of shit. It's like a weird Speed Racer meets Walk Hard. Not everyone can watch that. Not everyone can handle the black phone. Not everyone could see Scream or X or Pearl. But like, Top Gun is for everybody. So I forgot, like, I think I've seen it 3 times in the theater, maybe 4. Forgot. I've seen it quite a bit. And I think it had been out for like a month or 2. Went to see it again. The theater was still packed house. And next to me, there was an elderly couple, 60s, maybe 70s. They were old. And the husband and wife, they were naming all the planes, all the jets that they were flying. And they held each other's hands through the whole fucking movie.
Oh, wow.
And they got emotional towards the end. And like, even like, I think either the husband or the wife, I forget which, because it's been a while. But she was like, "What about Hangman? Who's Hangman?" And then when that moment happens, like, they were just so happy and relieved. And it was just such an experience. And like, it's been out for a month. It's been out for maybe 2 months, whatever it was. And it was still filling theaters. People were still going to see it. And they still had that little message from Tom Cruise in the beginning, and it felt special every time I went to the theater because it's him in the beginning saying, we filmed it, we made it for you, and we wanted you guys to see this in a theater, so enjoy the movie. And I was just like, thank you, Tom Cruise. Thank you for giving this experience.
You're that guy in the theater who actually says that out loud. Thank you, Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I'm the guy saluting. What do you call it? What's her name? Nicole Kidman.
Oh.
I know that's at AMC's, but I go to the Regal. But I know that
Nicole dreams Kidman are made here. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But it's a great movie, and not only did it affect me, it affected everybody. Even my friend saw it. She doesn't even see movies, but she went to see it with her boyfriend in like August, and it had already been out for like whatever. I think it came out like June or May or something, and she went to see it in August. I was like, holy smokes, you got to see it. And she's not a movie person, and she loved it. She loved Top Gun. I was like, that's amazing. And it's so great. I don't know if you want to talk about the plot or what things work about it, or
yeah. So the plot is different from the original film, obviously. Basically, like, which I was a little bit surprised at, because I feel like, especially when you're watching the first, whatever it is, 20 minutes of it, it feels a lot like the first movie. I mean, they literally copied the opening, like the opening sequence. They literally copy that, like almost shot for shot. Mm-hmm. It's the same text. It's all the same text.
But they did fix the text though. They had to.
Yeah.
Yep.
there was like a minor change in the text, because there was like wasn't there some like word that they used that like somebody in at Top Gun had like complained about when they released the first one?
The things they changed was men and women, because the thing in the original one, it was just men, and then I think they spelled "their" wrong.
Oh,
okay. Or something. It was like an actual spelling error.
Yeah,
and they fixed that for the new one. But other than that, that's basically the same text. But it was so good. And I'm kind of glad that they recreate. Like the recreation is almost like a little like to Tony Scott, like this. We're here for you, man. Yeah. We wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you, Tony. That's what that whole opening scene is to me.
But it feels like the first like 20 minutes or so feels very much like the first film, even though it's obviously not the same story. Mm-hmm. But there's a point where it like very much diverges, because the original one is about them going to, it's about Maverick and Goose going to Top Gun and like doing the training exercises. And then you have an event that happens that sort of like changes everything. And in this one, there's an actual mission. Mm-hmm. This is not it. There's not training, although they do train. There's not training. Like the point of it is not the training. The point of it is like there's a legit mission now. Like this is what we have to do. And if we don't get this right, like bad stuff is going to happen. And I think that was one of the things that that really like elevated it over just like what like a typical sequel in probably a lot of people's minds would have been, because so many times when you're making a sequel to the film, they oftentimes do try and like keep the thread of the original, keep what people like about the original, in it. And I feel like they did a great job of like adding a new, keeping the feel of the original while also adding something new to it that takes it to an elevated level, and makes it a Top Gun movie that's worth seeing over just like, hey, we're giving you another Top Gun movie. It's kind of the same as the first one. Don't you love nostalgia? It's like they didn't do that.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, because in this movie, there's so many things. So, like, the first thing is that not only did they do a great sequel, they fixed all the problems from the first movie. Because the first movie, there's no really driving storyline. There's no driving mission. It's just like day in a life. Like you're watching these like cool guys, and then there's like an accident, and then there's like finally a mission. And there's like no stakes. It's just like a music video. This one, they elevate the stakes. The whole movie is elevating the stakes. The whole movie is explaining how dangerous this mission is and how impossible the mission is.
I see what you did there.
But like a lot of movies don't do this anymore, where they don't elevate the stakes. They don't tell you how dangerous something is, because in this one they're showing like you have to go fast or you're dead. If you don't go that fast, this is going to happen. And if you go too fast, this might happen because you might pass out. And all the terrain and obstacles they have to go through, it's all explained perfectly. And it's just one of those things where it's just, it's great storytelling. It's great character stuff.
It's like you have to hit this angle on ascent or you'll crash into the mountain. Mm-hmm. And when you do hit this angle on ascent, you might pass out. So you have to stay awake, long enough to get the climb over the mountain. Yeah.
Yep. And there's just so many things. And not only that, but it's like, since if it's for those Tom Cruise fans as well, because if you've been watching him his whole career, he's always been the guy. But this time he's finally dealing with his age. And it sort of comes through in the plot where he is not that guy anymore. It even says in the beginning, he's like, It's okay, when do I leave? When do I go on this mission? He's like, you're not going on this mission. You got to train them. And it's wonderful. It's for him finally dealing that he's getting old. And I feel like he's been kind of avoiding that with most of his movies, like with like example, Oblivion, where I feel like he's like has like younger actresses playing his love interest in Oblivion, even though he's getting higher in age. And he's sort of meeting in the middle with the Mission Impossible movies with Rebecca Ferguson. But with this one, it's like age appropriate, Jennifer Connelly, which was even for me, we're like, oh my God, like I'm like doing the Hondo thing, because for those who know me, I did fan trailers and I matched Tom Cruise and Jennifer Connelly in my fan trailer. My God, 9 years ago at this point. And to finally see them on screen together as a love interest, like, oh, that's so amazing. It's happening. And then just like the characterization of Maverick and him dealing with age, and then the Ice, his best friend Ice, which I almost thought they weren't going to have Val Kilmer in a movie, but they did. And that was even like a touching scene, because as a person who grew up in the 90s, Val Kilmer was the guy.
Yeah.
Heat, Batman Forever, The Saint, Heart of Darkness, I think what it's called, or The Light in the Darkness. No, the Lion movie, the one that was on the 101.
Oh, the Lion in the Darkness, I think.
Lion in the Darkness, yeah.
Yeah.
That movie was great. Oh, Tombstone. Holy shit. But yeah, he was a star, and seeing him in this comeback, and it was just, it's like, we're like what he's dealt with in his life with his throat and everything, and he comes back and he says that line like Top Gun needs Maverick, or they need Maverick, and it's like, oh, that's wonderful. It's so great. Yeah. But yeah, it's all around amazing, like the plot wise and them setting it up, and it's always introducing something new. In the beginning, it's the Top Gun school, and then it's the mission, and then it's the third final act where they have to escape. Hopefully I'm not talking too much. Do you have anything to say before I get too far into it, or no?
No, I mean, you were talking about some more of his recent movies, and like how he is sort of like even in real life, he's sort of like not really the guy anymore. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at his IMDb page, and when you look at it, it's like, let's say the last like 10 years or so, you have Rock of Ages in 2012, where it's like, I never saw that movie, so I don't even know if he's like the main character in that.
He's like a side character in that.
Yeah, so he's a side character. You have Jack Reacher, which was pretty successful. Mm-hmm. Oblivion, which was successful, but like not as much probably as they wanted it to. Mm-hmm. Edge of Tomorrow, which is a fantastic film, but didn't do very well.
No.
You got Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which did pretty good. The Jack Reacher sequel, which did not do well at all. Mm-hmm. The Mummy, which did not do well. It's like you can see you can look at the last 10 years of his career and see that, like, he, again, like you said, like he's not the guy, mm-hmm. So yeah, I definitely can see where you're saying like Maverick is him realizing that his character is realizing that he's not the ace that he once was. And it's Tom Cruise realizing that, like, you know, he's getting older, you know, and there's a point where where he's just not going to be able to keep going. You know, it's like or the alternative is he has to become Paul Newman and take these sort of like smaller, you know, sort of like side roles, like Paul Newman in what was that movie that he did with Tom Hanks, the gangster movie?
Road to Perdition.
Yeah, Road to Perdition, where it's like it's Paul Newman, but he's not the main character, and he's only in a couple of scenes.
Right.
You know, so it's
or
like,
even ironically enough, Tom Cruise has to be Paul Newman in Color of Money.
That's true. I didn't even think about that.
Where I think that's what Top Gun basically is. The Maverick movie, where he's the old guy and he's like, he has to get the younger generation, you know, give them the confidence, like, you have to do it like me or you're not going to succeed. You have to do it practical. You have to put the work in. You can't just film on the green screen. You have to do the real G's if you want to succeed. And he showed them.
Yeah.
Like the highest, I don't know if Avatar beat it, but I do remember that Top Gun was like the highest grossing movie this year. And it beat Thor, it beat Batman, and it's just wonderful because it's an aging 90s movie star. The last movie star, arguably, getting up there. He's not the Simu Chu or whatever, the guy from Shang-Chi. I'm a star! I'm a star! No, Tom Cruise is a legitimate star. But yeah, so as I was getting to the end point, so earlier I said like Everywhere All at Once sort of had that moment where I was like, there's more movie left. And a lot of movies have had that recently where even the Batman's like, there's more movie left. And it's just one of those things where it's like you want the movie to end, like you feel like the end is coming. But yet there's more movie left. It's like, there's more. You have that feeling and you're like, like you I don't know, I'm sure you know, Stuart. Do you have an example of this? Tell me I'm not alone with this.
I had this happen to me just like literally a day or two ago. I went to go see Babylon. And they're like literally the last 15 minutes of that film are completely pointless, completely unnecessary. There's a point where you can like cut it. It would make a great ending, but it just keeps going for like another 15 minutes. And you're like, why is any of this happening? You know, so there's tons of movies that are like that, where it's like there's a ending, like what you would see as a definitive ending, and then they keep going for more time, and you're just like, why is this happening?
Yeah, it's happened quite a few times, but the thing it didn't happen with was Maverick.
Yeah,
there's a scene in the movie where you're like, oh my god, Maverick is dead, the movie's over, and they're going to wrap it up with the funeral. And the screen goes black and you totally expect that. And then it comes back up and you see Maverick in the snow. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, there's more movie left. Yes. He's going to get out of this. What's going to happen? And like how the stakes are elevated was so much with that ending of the movie, because not only have they accomplished the mission, that's done, but they have to get out now. And the stakes are even higher and you're re-engaged into the movie. You're not like, oh, Christ, you already solved this thing, you know, like, stop the movie. But no, it's like, let's see how to get out of this. What's Rooster going to do? Okay, they have to do this. How are they going to get out of it? And it's just like highs, like, okay, there's a positive. They escape, negative. Oh God, there's, you know, the Banshees are there. Like, what are they going to do? Yes, no. It's so great. That whole last like half an hour of the movie is like, no. As they're trying to escape. It's wonderful. And I miss that in movies. And I keep joking about like, I think I said Back to the Future Part 2, or even Back to the Future 1, I think, was the Maverick of Back to the Future. Because it's like high lows. We're like, yes, Marty's in the car. Oh shit, the car stalled. Yes, he got the engine back up. Oh no, the thing came loose. He's almost on his way. He's got to plug it in. You know, it's the stakes are elevated. It's just amazing. Yeah. And Maverick brings all the magic to movies back to the big screen, and it's just awesome. Amazing. I love Maverick. Although I think I need to stop watching it, because I think my last rewatch I was like, I think
there's several movies that I've wanted to rewatch,
Yeah.
especially from this year, but I'm like, I'm gonna lay off, because I don't want to overdo it, because you don't want to burn out on. That's like I haven't watched Aliens in probably like maybe a year or more at this point. And the reason is because there was a point where I watched it, I think like 2 or 3 times in 1 year.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I mean, I love that movie. It's like one of my favorite movies of all time,
Yeah.
but like, you just start digging your own grave if you
don't reach
watching it over
burnout,
and over again.
because there's a lot of movies that I've reached burnout for, which we just talked about. The Dark Knight, I've reached burnout. I don't think I can ever watch that movie again. It's scorched earth. Along the lines of that is even like Terminator 2, because I watched that tons of times as a kid.
Yeah.
I don't think I could watch that like realistically. And then Forrest Gump. I think Forrest Gump is safe for a rewatch. I think I'm feeling a rewatch coming soon. But like that was like I couldn't plant anything there.
Yeah.
Uninhabitable. I can't watch it again. And Maverick, I think I've watched maybe 4 or 5 times this year. So the 5th time I was like, okay, I've watched it enough. It's good.
Yeah, you can tell you're like when you start like flicking on your phone and you're not really paying attention to it, then you're like, oh, maybe I need to like put this one back on the shelf for a little while.
Yeah, right now it's in hibernation.
Yeah, that's the thing is like there's some 4Ks that I've bought like in the last year or so, and this even includes the Back to the Future 4K set that I bought like back in. When did that come out? 2020 or 2021?
I don't even know, but I know what you're talking about. That 4K.
Yeah,
I think it was 2020.
I bought that Best Buy one, the Steelbook one, and I haven't even watched those because it's like Back to the Future that trilogy is one that's like so special to me that like I never want to watch it and feel like I'm burned out on it. I always want it to be I always want it to like I always want to feel good when I'm watching it. So it's like I have to like kind of make sure that I'm not like overdoing it.
Yeah. I totally get you what you mean with that, because that's even like I guess Star Wars for me. The original trilogy. I don't dig the new stuff. I don't dig the vibe it brings to a set. But yeah, like I understand, because there's just some movies out there that you want to hold and keep true. Like I don't want to rewatch that too many times.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's like this year I really wanted to rewatch The Shining. And I wanted to do like The Shining and Doctor Sleep sort of like back to back.
Yeah.
But the thing was like a couple of years ago I watched The Shining, like, I think it was like I ended up watching The Shining for some reason, like 2 or 3 times in 1 year. And it put me on that tipping point.
Really?
Where I was oh, I'm getting close to burning out on this movie. And I do not want to burn out on that movie.
No.
So I haven't watched it in like probably 2 or 3 years. And I feel like it is coming close to that point where it's like, I could probably watch it again and like, in like really enjoy it, like truly enjoy it, But like kind of happened to me in a way with 2001, because when I was this last time that I was living out in LA, 2001 is one of those movies like they show at least a couple of times a year on the big screen. And I had a rule that I set for myself, which was if 2001 was playing on the big screen, I was going to do my best to go try and see it. And I ended up seeing it like, I think it was like 3 times in like maybe 2 years.
Wow. Okay.
And I just got to that point where I was like, I should not be watching this anymore for a while. Yeah. Like I need to put this one away for a minute, and come back to it when I'm ready.
So. Yeah. Because it's definitely movies like that. Because like The Dark Knight, like I've said, like I can't watch that movie. And this was like even way back. It was like how they showed the trilogy before, like Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and then Dark Knight Rises. That's like 2012. I was burned out then, and it's been 9 years, and I'm still burned out. Because I think I was so bored. I was like sitting there bored watching The Dark Knight. Like, all right, let's get to The Dark Knight Rises. Because I was more excited to watch Batman Begins than The Dark Knight. And even at this point right now, it's like I've been kind of thinking about doing a rewatch, but it's like that movie is so burned out to me. I think it's just because I'm an editor, a fan trailer editor, so I'm always working that footage.
Yeah.
So it's like I can't get into it anymore. So, with our top 5 being said, is there any like, runner-ups or anything that you want to talk about?
Oh yeah, I've got my list here.
Oh,
If
you
you
got
want to
your
go
list.
through,
I don't.
that
I don't
stuff.
have like a runner-ups. I just have like a list of movies I saw this year. So you could lead the way, and I'll just jump in wherever I feel needed.
Okay. I'm gonna start. I think so. Like the way that I typically do my favorites list is I don't generally pick like, you know, this is my number one. This is my number. Like I don't rank them. I just put them down like in the order that I watch them. The reason that I chose the ones that I did for this was because at least Top Gun Maverick and Everything Everywhere All at Once, like those two stood out far above and beyond like all the rest. I mean, like I knew that like if someone asked me like what is your top movie of the year, I would say without a doubt Top Gun Maverick, and close behind is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yep.
And then after Yang, I just really connected with the Fablemans. I really connected with, and The Menu to me was like one of the best times I've had watching a movie, other than some of those other movies that I've already listed. It was so fun and so like dark and like just amazing. But I'm gonna start basically with at the beginning of the year and go towards the end of the year, essentially. So the first one, and the way that I always do mine is like sometimes a movie comes out at the end of the previous year, but I don't see it at that point. So if I see it if it came out at like December of 2021,
But you didn't see it till January.
yeah, and I don't see it until January, like it goes on the 2022 list. Like that's how I do it.
I have a couple that like on my list too, like American Underdog. I saw that this year, but it came out in December of last year.
Yeah. So the first one is Drive My Car. It's a South Korean film. No. I think it's a Japanese film. Hold on. I don't know if this actually. Yeah. It is a Japanese film. Okay. Drive My Car is it's a very simple premise about a guy whose wife passes away. He's a theater director, and his wife passes away, and he's having like a really hard time, connecting to life. He takes a job directing a play like really far away from where he lives, and they have this weird rule where it's like they don't allow the director to drive themselves to and from the theater. There has to be someone who drives them around all the time. So he's like he has this red Saab. Do you know what a Saab is? Yeah. He has this red Saab, like this 90s red Saab that's in like perfect condition. And he like loves his car, and he has all these memories with his wife in it. So it's like very special to him. And like the girl that they assign to like drive him around, he's like not happy about it because it's like she's going to be driving his car and he doesn't like that or whatever. But they end up striking up a relationship as this is going on. Not like a boyfriend girlfriend relationship, but just like a friendship. And she ends up revealing to him her life story, which ends up taking the film, I think, in very interesting places. It's a very low key film. It's like 3 hours long, so it's not a it takes a while to get through it, but it's the only film that I've seen in a long time that's that long, but you don't really feel it. So I absolutely love that, and I actually want to watch it again pretty soon. After that is Apollo 10 and a half. which is a Richard Linklater film. Richard Linklater is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
He made the I know you've said that you've watched Scanner Darkly.
I was gonna say that I like because this movie was his new rotoscope
Yeah.
technology, and I love that look. Like to me, A Scanner Darkly is like one of the best movies ever. And I remember there was like one time where I think you shared a link. I'm like, oh my god, it's going Criterion Collection, but it was like on the Criterion channel. I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
But I love the look of A Scanner Darkly. I wish more movies did that, but I think it's like an expensive process to do that.
It's expensive and it's time consuming because you have to shoot everything live action and then you hand it over to them and they do all the stuff. So it takes a long time. But he made this movie Apollo 10.5, and it's kind of like a semi memoirish film about like that like age of like the 1960s, like the early space race, like how fascinating it was for people to like watch the rockets go up and people landing on the moon and all that kind of stuff, and what it was like to be a kid in Texas at that time. There is a fictional element of it where it's like one of the main characters who is 10.5 gets enlisted into NASA to do some stuff. I'm not going to spoil what, but it's like it's a really fun original film in my opinion, and I really connected with it.
Yeah.
So and then next is one that you're gonna love. Ambulance.
Ambulance. Oh my god, Ambulance.
The newest Michael Bay masterpiece.
Using drones the way they should be used.
Oh wow!
I got this Ambulance just because of the movie. It's a WWE van.
Oh, okay.
So I got this, and I wanted to display it on one of my shelves, but it's just too big. But I have like a little character in there, and I wanted to have like a Gyllenhaal lookalike G.I. Joe in the other seat to make it look like the scene from the movie. But that's the whole reason why I have this, is because of the movie. I'm like, yes, I love Ambulance enough to try to make my own custom like action figure set that doesn't exist for this great movie.
Yeah. When you pulled that out, I was like, holy cow, they have merchandise?
I wish they did. Like, kind of seems like a perfect movie for like a small toy line from the 90s. If Ambulance came out in the 90s, for sure they would have a toy line of all the characters in it. For sure.
100%. Yeah.
100%.
Like a Last Action Hero style thing.
Yes. Oh my god. So you can talk about it, or do you want me to talk about Ambulance, or do you want to talk about Ambulance? Because like,
you can talk about it if you want.
Oh yeah. So in movies they always have like a drone shot. It's always boring, and even with my work, it's like, oh, we got a drone, and it's just like, and it's just like you're just capturing the thing. It's boring.
Yeah.
And when I saw the behind the scenes of Ambulance, where Michael Bay got the guy who races drones to fly them in the movie, that was so amazing to see what they could do. I'm like, I want to see that in more movies, and which I'm sure they will. Because Michael Bay is like the leader of technology.
Oh, dude, it's already happened. That movie, The Gray Man, that was on Netflix, that has like Ryan Gosling and Chris, Captain America, the guy who plays Captain America.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, they copied that in that movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They have those kind of like really fast, like sweeping drone shots in there.
Yeah, but Ambulance. And like goes up the building and then swings back down.
Yeah. Dude, it's nuts. It's crazy.
Yes. And they did it. They freaking did. And I love what Michael Bay did. I like I think in a previous stream someone said it perfectly. They love those all in the one day movies. So like a Speed or a Crank or something like that. Like I feel like Crank would fit perfectly in this universe. Like if you were to have a double feature, it'd be like Speed, Ambulance, and maybe Crank, or a mixture of those three movies where it's all in one day, amazing chase film in LA. But yeah, I thought it was great. What do you think of it? Like, it's your favorites, but yeah.
I saw it in the theater because I was like, when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, this is probably going to be the kind of movie that like you're only going to get the most out of it if you see it in the theater. So I went and I was like not expecting a lot because like as we talked about before, like I'm not a huge Michael Bay fan. But yeah, it blew my socks off.
He's
I was
back.
like,
He was
it's
back, dude.
it's so much fun. Gyllenhaal and
Gyllenhaal.
I always forget this guy's name.
The Candyman.
Yahya Abdul Mateen.
Yeah.
Like they were so good. Aiza Gonzalez is so good. I love
Fantastic.
Garrett Dillahunt as like the lead sort of like special agent or whatever he
With
is.
the dog.
Yeah, with the dog. Yeah. So good. Like there's so much like just goofy Michael Bay stuff in that
and
movie.
It works with this one. It's not annoying. It feels like it's actually like character building. Like it adds to the story. Like, okay, yeah, the dog's in it. Yeah.
And the interesting part about Ambulance is I remember seeing it was like a sort of like a behind the scenes like EPK kind of thing. I think it was on YouTube. And one of the things that he said about the movie was that they had a really short time frame, like shorter than he's ever had to like make this. It was like they had like I think 3 weeks maybe
something like that
to do all the shooting. And it's like honestly, I really think that is part of why it ended up being so good is because he didn't have time to like mess around with anything on set. He was like, I got to get my shots.
Yeah.
This has got to be done now. It's got to be done right basically the first time. And like, you might get a second take, but probably not.
Yeah. I think that's when he works the best. Cause I think back in the day, like Armageddon and The Rock, Bad Boys, the original one, I should say, the first one. I think he works better when he's controlled or has like less because he gets more improv. He's like, all right, let's do this. Let's try this. Let's get this angle. Let's get that angle. And meanwhile, he is like limited. As you said, like there's like, things in the movie where I've watched interviews with Gyllenhaal and Yahya where they're like talking about the movie. And there was a day where they didn't know like what they were doing, and he's okay, I got helicopters and you're gonna point at the screen and we're just gonna drive down here a couple times and we're gonna get the shot. And it's like that shot when they're in the LA River and he somehow found helicopters. They're like, where'd you find helicopters? Just don't ask questions, we're just gonna film it. So he found like helicopters from somewhere to film this thing, and it's just amazing. And I think it's even similar to because he always has like a relationship with like the army. Like he watches Transformers movies and like the entire army is there helping. So I think he had a similar relationship with this where like all of LA was helping him film the thing. Like, all right, we're going to have some cop cars here or whatever, or helicopters. I think they had the same relationship with Michael Bay during this. Like, if you need anything, just let us know. And there's just so many moments too that escalate. It's like Maverick where it just keeps going up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
Wonderful stuff.
Yeah. That's the thing is like, and I know like we probably have a difference of opinion on this, but it's like I feel like one of the biggest problems with Transformers, the Transformers series, is like he had all the money in the world to do those, and he spent all of it on the effects and not enough time and effort on like making a good story,
Yeah. Because there's some great action sequences in the third one, but it's so bad as a story. But like there's like the buildings going down and they have like all these stuntmen coming out, and it's a great sequence, but like there's no heart to it. There's no engagement with the audience member to it, even though it's visually amazing. I feel like that with a lot of his movies, or that series, I should say, with like Transformers 2, that's like at the cusp at the end of when animation looked amazing. Because after I'd say 2011, it started looking cheaper because a lot of people are like, we're going to make it all CGI. Because at that 2009, I think when it came out, that Transformers Rise of the Fallen or Revenge of the Fallen, the effects look amazing. It looks like they're really fighting there. Megatron and Optimus are really fighting those woods. It looks so real, but the story isn't there. Granted, it was a writer's strike at that time, but it just like it didn't have the heart in it. And like, even though that's like the best time of technology with CGI where everything looked real. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the most we'll ever talk about Transformers.
Yeah. So if you're tuning in and you want more about Transformers, it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Me and Stewart, no. Watch it. It'll be happening. The most requested video of 2023.
The next one was like a little bit of a surprise for me. I was a little worried that I was not gonna like it, but I ended up really loving it. And that was The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, the
Yes, the Nicolas
movie
Cage
where
movie.
Nicolas Cage plays Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious. I loved it from basically like the first scene until the end credits. I just enjoyed the fact that they like took this idea, this ridiculous idea, and just ran with it and committed themselves to it and just like went all the way. So
Yeah. I didn't get to see that one just because I didn't trust it. But after you said you liked it, I'm like, oh, maybe one day I'll get to watch it. But it's one of those ones where I was like, I don't know. It's got Pedro Pascal. I don't quite trust him yet. I don't know. I don't know. It's got Nicolas Cage. I don't know.
yeah.
Granted, like one of the 90s, I love 90s Cage. But ever since then, I've been like, I'm not sure about Cage.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely. I mean, especially in the 2000s, that first decade of the 2000s, he was very like hit or miss. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
like he was making some garbage.
yeah. It's garbage. It's garbage. Because I think I supported him all the way to like 2007 or 8, which was Bangkok Dangerous. I think that was the last time I supported him. I was like, I can't do that anymore. Although Pig was amazing. Pig was amazing.
Pig is incredible. That's like easily one of his best performances of his entire career.
Ever. Exactly.
Yeah. Next up is a movie that's actually surprised me. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did, but The Northman.
Yes. Oh, hang on. Let me get to my Northman mode. Give me a second. If we're gonna talk about Northman, I gotta switch it up.
Oh wow! I did not realize that this was gonna happen. We're doing. Oh,
hang on. Get it underneath here. Yep. Now I'm in my Northman mode. Yep.
I'm gonna go rape and pillage.
That movie is definitely fictional because no man would leave Anya Taylor-Joy.
No. Yeah.
When that happened, I'm like, this movie is bullshit.
Yeah, I would have been like, if I was in that situation, I would have been like, you know what? Screw it. Anya Taylor-Joy, let's just go home.
Let's just go. And it's so infuriating. I was like, oh my God, you don't even need revenge. Like, you've destroyed everything. The planet, the island is going to get covered with lava. You're fine. You got the girl. You don't need to do this. And he's like, oh my God. I was like, you got Anya Taylor-Joy, for Christ's sake. And she's totally into it too. It's like she's like, I'm into your massive abs and you being super violent and killer for me, because that's what he did. Like, he defended her with his like dying breath or whatever. I'm like,
yeah,
what are you leaving there? The only actual love in your life, your mother didn't love you, your father probably loved you, I don't know, but like, you're leaving that to have this pointless revenge. It's like, oh my God. Oh, well, you talk about Northman.
Oh, I don't know that I actually have that much to say about it, other than the fact that like it was a true experience, like seeing it in the theater.
Yes. I agree with that. Oh my God.
Screen. Do what?
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, seeing it on the big screen with like a great sound system, it just like it was literally mesmerizing. Like, that is the word that I would use for it. Like,
yes.
Mesmerizing. Like, I was in it for 2 hours or however long it was, and like when it was over, I was like, holy cow, like let's roll it again. Just roll it again. You know?
Oh my God.
So I'm interested to see. I ended up buying the 4K of it, but I haven't watched it yet, and I'm interested in seeing like if it holds up at like home. You know,
I've been kind of thinking about it recently, just because I've been wanting to rewatch The Lighthouse, and that keeps coming in my mind with The Northman, because I think it pops up on my smart TV where it says like, oh, The Northman. I'm like, I kind of want to rewatch that because I love Anya Taylor-Joy in it. She's amazing. I love the whole Defoe sequence where even he's like a little head. It's, oh my God, there's like so like little things in that movie. Okay, I don't even know, maybe a tangent, but like his talking skull like reminded me of the Green Goblin. because the Green Goblin helmet would talk. And then I just
Yeah.
like how there's like things that are clearly happening in the Northman's imagination, where he's picturing himself fighting this ghost, this demon, but meanwhile he's just there to pick up the sword. It plays out in realistic, like, oh my god, he's making up in his head like how amazing this journey is, and it's kind of not. It's not an amazing but it's so good though. Your boy's in it, Ethan Hawke, he's in it. And then Nicole Kidman, she's in it.
Yeah, dude. She's really good too.
She's really good.
Yeah.
Who thought she'd be so good? She's so good. The only thing that's bad about that is that she's too Hollywood. So she's all shiny and all done up, so it doesn't quite match the tone, but she's good.
Yeah.
She's still good. The talent comes through.
Did you ever see that movie that she did? It was like 2 or 3 years ago, Destroyer.
Oh, that's right, where she just looked like no makeup at all, probably, for that whole movie.
Yeah, well, I think she was wearing makeup, because I think they actually like kind of uglied her up a little bit.
Yeah.
And she's like clearly wearing a wig.
Yeah.
There's so many wigs in that movie, by the way. So many people wearing wigs.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to be. It's supposed to be their natural hair, but they're obviously wigs.
Yeah.
But that, like, she's great in that too. Like, she's really good. The movie is kind of like, it's okay, but like her performance in that movie is awesome.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like everybody in the Northman is awesome. I love like all the like scenery that they have.
Oh yeah, all the set pieces. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's
and
just
the production design.
I mean, a lot of that's amazing. I know that some of it is practical, and obviously some of it is like CG.
But it's so well, and you can't tell.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think that, like, I know that it didn't do very well, but honestly, I just kind of think that that's kind of his masterpiece. I mean, I like the other films that he's done, but that's like the biggest, most technically amazing thing that he's ever done.
He's one of those filmmakers where now it's like, I need to see his movies.
Yeah.
Like,
have you seen The Witch?
I was just gonna say that's the only one I haven't seen, but after The Lighthouse, I was like, Lighthouse and Northman is like, he's that filmmaker where it's like, I don't care, I need to see him. It's like Paul Thomas Anderson. It's like, I'm there. So now I do need to see The Witch, but I just heard there's a new 4K that he specifically had his hand in to make sure it looks right, because apparently the 4K that was released regular is not what he wanted or intended, but he did like some 4K in like Europe or some shit. I don't even remember.
Yeah. So the one that the studio put out, I guess they did not include him when they did the color correction on it. And then there's a company called Second Sight in the UK. They released a European, but like most 4Ks
are region free.
Yeah, are region free. And again, most, not all, but most 4Ks are region free.
I think that one is though, because Films at Home. I think that's how I know it's like region free and works here, because I think he was promoting it on his channel.
Yeah. But if you go to because I'm actually thinking about getting it myself. If you go to Diabolic DVD, they have you can order. I believe it's out of stock right now, but you can order it from them.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I just wrote it down. I literally wrote it down.
Yeah, because the weird part about it is like Second Sight has agreements with people where it's like they won't directly sell you one of their discs to the United States, but they will sell to like a distributor like Diabolic DVD, and then Diabolic DVD sells it to you. So
exactly,
it's like a weird workaround that they have.
Yeah.
But we'll move on from the Northman. But yeah, it was the Northman was like another like great like truly cinematic experience.
Yeah,
like, the kind of thing that a movie theater is made for.
Like when he grabs the freaking spear and throws it back. Oh my god, cinema.
Yeah,
that's a picture. That movie's a picture.
The pictures. We're going to the pictures. The next one you might disagree with. I don't know, but I ended up really liking it, and I think a lot of it is because of the director. but that is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh no, that's fine.
Yeah, like
that grew on me because the first time I saw it, I was like, but then afterwards, I was like, oh. I saw it twice in the theaters. First time, yeah. Oh wait, the reason why it went is because the first time I saw it was at the normal theater, regular. Second time I went to see it with my sister was IMAX.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's like the full screen for like most of the movie, like literally, like I think it's like most of the like screen is filled. It's not like the widescreen for the 16:9. It's like literally the whole screen, and then even like the color temperature was different. It looked more like a Sam Raimi movie.
Yeah,
like the saturation was up on the IMAX version and not the regular release. I was like, oh shit, this is what it's supposed to look like. Oh my god. No wonder why I thought like it's ass when I originally saw it, because when the original theater it's like gray and drab and it's just the 16:9. But like the IMAX, that's the Raimi movie. That's the one I wanted to see. But yeah, I have no bad words on it. I have the 4K. I actually looked up on the 4K. So I was at Walmart and I put the grocery cart back, and someone left their 4K of Doctor Strange sealed in their cart at the cart corral, and I was like, "This is destiny. I'm meant to have this."
They left it for you.
They left it for me. They left it for me, Stewart. It's my destiny. So that's how I have a 4K copy of Doctor Strange, and I love it. So tell me your thoughts on it.
It is your destiny.
It is your destiny.
My thoughts on it are like, story-wise, it's still very much like a Marvel film, but the execution of it is, because they brought Sam Raimi in and like legit let him sort of like do his thing, it feels set apart from like other Marvel movies. And I'm not trying to bag on Marvel. There are a lot of Marvel movies that I enjoy and all that, but it's like this one felt like something special, and I did actually genuinely really like the story. I loved seeing Scarlet Witch go evil in it. I loved the some of the sort of like multiverse interdimensional stuff with man, I forget what that character's name is. America something.
Oh,
the girl.
Yeah, she's in America, right? They just keep calling her America, so I was like, that's all I know her as. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
like I thought that was really cool how she could open up a portal in some of the different worlds that they went to.
Yeah, it was like a colorblind world, which I thought was interesting, because it's everything is like muted colors. It's because in that world no one can see, reds and stuff.
Yeah.
It's good.
But I just liked it, I think, because it was like, it's one of the only times I feel like they ever like gave something to a director and were like, you just kind of do your thing with this, and we're just going to let it kind of be what it is,
Yeah.
It's the only, I will say this, and I don't think that Phase 4 is done, but right now it's the only Phase 4 movie that like I truly love.
Yeah.
All the other ones are kind of like
Eternals, because you're saying they let a director do their thing. I think they try to do that with what?
Oh yeah, Chloe Zhao. Yeah, they did let her do her thing, especially visuals. But my big problem with Eternals is like, that should have been a TV show.
Yes,
that should have been like an 8 or 12 part TV show and not a 3-hour movie.
Hooray for Stewart. We're on the same page for that one. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, like it's because Eternals was like, here's the thing with Eternals. I wish it was a TV show. I wish it was on HBO, and I wish it went rated R, because there's like so many like weird shit in that movie that they could have done more with. Like they could have gone harder with the sci-fi to make it more weird.
Yeah,
it would match those characters, and it would fit right with the universe, and then like add more sex shit, dude. Like they're all those immortals have been living on this earth for the longest time. Of course they're horny for each other. Add more of that shit in there. I'm serious though, because it adds
Yeah.
to the dynamic. Because a lot of them are like dating each other or have a thing for each other, and that's like that's good character shit. But they couldn't really dive into it in the movie because it's only 2 hours, and it's a franchise that people really don't care about, so they really couldn't dive in. But that should have been like a 8-10 episode miniseries on HBO.
100%. Yeah.
Yes, and that's the Eternals. Yes.
Frank Ireland presents The
The
Eternals.
Eternals. But yes, yeah, Doctor Strange is amazing though. I love Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
There was some real good superhero shit in that. Like when he does his little suit, he's like at the wedding, he drinks and then throws it, and then he puts the cape on and jumps over. Good superhero shit. Good superhero shit. And then what was the other thing there? I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. I love how it shows how powerful Scarlet Witch is. Like she's like probably the most powerful Avenger because she literally just wiped out an entire Avenger staff.
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing. But yeah, there's a lot of good things to say about that, so I don't hate it. I like it.
Yeah. I will say just one caveat. I do love the original Doctor Strange. That is also great. But again, like it feels very much like a Marvel film, you know. That's in that area. The first 3 phases, and I understand why they did it. Don't get me wrong. Like I understand why they did it. There's very much a consistency to all of the films throughout the first 3 phases.
It's McDonald's, man. They got to make it the same.
Exactly. So Doctor Strange was that one time that McDonald's was like, we're going to bring in a professional chef and have him make, an Angus burger or whatever,
And bring it to the White House.
Yeah. So next, oddly enough, talking about the first Doctor Strange, next would be The Black Phone, directed by Scott Derrickson, who did the original Doctor Strange. I'm not going to talk too much about this because we already did talk about it. So,
hey, I just want to add one little thing.
Okay.
There was someone on Twitter, I believe, who said, I find it interesting. There's a movie where a kid gets bullied and then he says, fuck you, I'm not going to take it anymore. And then he does his own thing. I was like, oh, yeah, that is The Black Phone. And sort of what happened with him in the sequel to Doctor Strange, where they were trying to bully him. And he's like, no, fuck you, I'm going to do my own thing. Yeah.
Yep.
So I love The Black Phone, though. It's my number 2.
It's a great one.
It's the best.
So after that is a movie that like basically this was a Apple TV Plus movie that like didn't really get released theatrical. I think it did play for like a couple of days at my local art house theater, but I didn't get over there to see it. But it's Cha Cha Real Smooth. The guy who did it, let me put it on here. The guy who did it, his name is Cooper Raiff. He was the director and he's the star of it. And it also stars Dakota Johnson, and Dakota Johnson produced it. Mm-hmm. And it's just an amazing film. It's like, I love dramas that are about like, sort of like real human emotion dramas. Mm-hmm. And that's what Cha Cha Real Smooth is about. It's about like this guy, Cooper, who's played by Cooper Raiff, who's like out of college, but like he doesn't really know what he's going to do with his life. So he kind of like falls into being what's called a party starter, which is like basically he gets hired for like birthday parties and bar mitzvahs and all this, all these kinds of things to like basically go in and like get people on the dance floor and get people like get people loose and enjoying the party, kids, because kids are always like, oh, I don't want to be the first one to go on the dance floor or whatever. So it's like, that's his job, is like, he's a party starter. And like, he ends up meeting this woman, Dakota Johnson, who was played by Dakota Johnson, who has like an autistic daughter. And he ends up kind of connecting with Dakota Johnson and with the autistic daughter, obviously not romantically with the autistic daughter, but like sort of in a friend way. But it's like she has like a boyfriend who she's engaged to. So it sort of becomes this like weird thing where it's like they have feelings for each other, but she can't really move on it because she's engaged to this guy. And it's just a really good, like really like The way that they handle emotions in the script and in their performances is just like spot on. Loved it
Mm-hmm.
a lot. And he actually did a film before this called Shithouse that's also really good.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
My
next
friend
up,
I was gonna say my friend Kirk Beatty was talking about those movies. He really loved Cha Cha Real Smooth and Shithouse.
yeah, dude, Shithouse is great. Like that's one of those. The Shithouse is the kind of movie that I wish I would have made.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I know he's only made 2 movies, but like I feel like there's like Cooper Raiff. There's a possibility that like he could be one of the next like big directors. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like the next like P.T. Anderson or something like that.
Yeah.
So next up is the HBO series The Last Movie Stars, which was
Paul Newman, right?
the documentary series done by my boy Ethan Hawke about Paul Newman and his wife Joanne Woodward and their career. It's exceptionally good. It's like I think it's like 6 episodes, and each episode is like over an hour long usually. So it's like it's a bit of a commitment, but like it's really good,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you like them as actors. And it gave me a ton of like movies that I ended up putting on my watch list, some of which I have watched since, but you know, others of which I'm kind of trying to track down because some of them are like, you know, not really available.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is Prey, the Predator
Oh, a Hulu movie.
prequel that came onto Hulu. Yeah. I loved this, and it's, you know, it's a shame that like they didn't release it theatrically, like
Mm-hmm.
not even as like a special event, like a one night special event or
Yeah, that could
something.
have been a special night. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a movie that was like it was made to be seen on theater screens. But I guess Hulu just felt like we want to get as many eyes on this as we possibly can on our service, as opposed to putting it out, you know, in the
Yeah.
theater.
I kind
But
of think it was Disney just being scared because there hasn't been like a good track record for Predator or Alien movies as of recently. So I think Disney was like, shove it for free on Hulu.
yeah,
We'll just put it aside. Like we don't give a crap about it. Even though I think the guy who directed it, he also did 10 Cloverfield Lane, which
yeah,
is a fantastic movie as well. Which
yeah.
I haven't seen Prey though. I have not.
It's really good, dude. I really liked it. The whole gist of it is that it takes place in, I believe it's in the 1700s.
Yes, because of the Predator 2 gun.
Yeah. And basically like there's a Native American colony, and like the predator or a predator shows up in that area and starts picking people off, and like there's this one female that ends up sort of like basically outsmarting it. So it's good. I liked it a lot. In fact, I've been wanting to rewatch it again, and I probably will pretty soon because
Do it.
it feels like one of those movies. And that's another thing too that ticks me off. Not only that it wasn't theatrical, but also because it's like Disney Hulu. Like you know that there's never going to be a disc for it. You know,
Yeah.
there's never going to be a physical media release, which also sucks.
That sucks. Hopefully one day, like there's like a retailer that could do that because I know Disney just did a deal with the Criterion, right? Because they just did that Wally, so maybe there's some other company that could hopefully get some of these movies onto disc as like a special edition or a limited run at some point.
I think it would be perfect for like a Shout Factory or Scream Factory if they did it, but it's like I don't know if I don't know how, I don't even know how Criterion managed to get in with Disney in the first place. So on top of that, I don't know how like, you know, Shout Factory or Scream Factory would get in.
Yeah, I don't even know because maybe it's like a license, and I don't know if like Scream Factory could do that. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So next up is one that like really like came very close to ending up on top 5, and that is the horror film Watcher.
Ooh, oh yeah. You know what's sad about that movie is I seen ads on my Instagram, and I was like, oh, it's coming out this weekend because it's like this Friday. Never showed up in my theater ever.
Yeah.
Didn't, no sign of it.
They They literally played it at my local art house theater. They literally played it like 2 nights, and that was it. And I didn't realize that. I didn't realize they were only playing it for 2 nights because they made a big deal about it coming out. And I was like, oh, I'll go see it during the week. They played it like Friday and Saturday, and then it was gone.
Yeah.
So
It has my girl in it, my crush.
yeah, Micah
Girl.
Monroe.
Yes. Oh my god! And I wanted to support her because I really loved her in that movie Greta, and she was in that The Guest, and what was the other one? The It Follows, and she was in my movie Independence Day Resurgence. And it's like I want to support her, and I can't support her if they're not going to release the movie, in the theater. What the hell?
Yeah. But they do have a Blu-ray of it. You can get the Blu-ray.
That I'll do.
So
I'll add it to the list.
But that's an amazing sort of like, it's a very like Rear Window Hitchcock kind of film where it's like this woman, shouldn't call her a girl. This woman like follows her husband to, I don't know if they say specifically what country it is, but it's like clearly sort of like an Eastern European, maybe ex-Soviet kind of country, where he's like I can't remember if he's like a software developer or a game developer or something like that. They go over to this country because he has to spend, a couple of months or a year or something there, like working on this project. And so she's there with him, but she doesn't really have anything to do. And one night she's looking out the window and there's a person in the window, like across the way from her. And like, she ends up starting to become obsessed with this person. And that's all I'm going to say about the plot. It gets more intense and frightening and the ending. I will say that like the end for me was extremely satisfying. Like they don't mess up the end, because a lot of films, it's like they build up a lot of tension and then they kind of flub the end, and you're like, oh, you were so close.
Yeah.
This one though, it's like it does a good job all the way through. Next up after that is Pearl, which we already talked about.
We talked about that.
After that is Weird, the Al Yankovic story.
Oh, I thought you're like, it's a weird choice.
Which I want to say right now, as of the recording of this, if anybody watches this later, right now you can go onto, I believe it's RokuChannel.com, and you can watch this for free. There is ads, that you have to watch, but you can watch it for free. It's this weird thing where it's like it's exclusive to the Roku channel. Yeah. So it's like, I think you can go. I think if you have a Roku, you might be able to go to Roku channel and see it without ads. But like if you do it on the website, there is ads. But it's quote unquote the biopic of Weird Al, but it's like Weird Al doing the Weird Al thing to biopics, where it's like he takes all the tropes of biopics and plays with them. So it's clearly not a true story in any way, shape, or form, but it is hilarious.
Yeah.
Very funny. I was laughing the whole time. Daniel Radcliffe plays Weird Al. Evan Rachel Wood plays Madonna. And there's a whole sort of like, thing with them. And I ended up seeing, I think I saw an interview with Weird Al where because they didn't really, in real life, they didn't really have that much of an interaction. Like he did like a surgeon. It was like he had to get her permission or whatever, but it's like that was kind of the end of it. But he called her up and he was like, hey, I'm doing this thing, and like we're going to take the script in this direction. We want like you to be a character in it. And she was like, yeah, that's amazing. That sounds great. So it's like the whole interaction between Weird Al and Madonna like starts at a certain point and then just escalates to this like ridiculous level that is, to me, is so funny. And just the whole movie is great. I loved it. And it's kind of like Prey, where it's like, I can't believe they restricted this to like a single online channel. But I will say, it got me to go to Roku channel. So maybe that's a success for them. I don't know.
Yeah. But what's his name? Al Yankovic did say to pirate it if you can't watch it. If you're unable to watch it, he gave you permission to pirate it.
He gave you the thumbs up.
He did.
Okay, next is The Banshees of Inisherin. This is Colin Farrell's third amazing role this year. Him and Brendan Gleeson, who you've probably seen in a million films, but you know, he's one of those guys, like you see him in a bunch of films, but you may not know his name, but when you see him, you're like, oh, that guy. I know
the Lake Placid guy.
Yeah. They play friends in sort of like turn of the 20th century Ireland. So it's like the 1910s, 1920s, something like that. And they live on this island called Inisherin, and they were friends. And there's like something that has happened at the beginning of this where they are no longer friends. And the film is all about like Colin Farrell's character trying to like get to the bottom of why they're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
So I will leave it at that. But it's an amazing like sort of meditation on like why people are friends, why people, you know, grow away from each other, and like what people want out of life, I guess.
Yeah.
So
that was a quick turnaround because I was just at Walmart yesterday and I saw it being sold at Walmart already. I'm like, didn't this just come out? This came out like last week.
It's on HBO Max as well. So
oh my god.
Yeah, it like came out for like, it was in theaters for like maybe 2 weeks. And then there was like a couple of weeks and then it came out and then they released it on Blu-ray.
That's crazy how quick it is these days. It's just like, boom, it's out. It's done.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's so close that it almost may as well be day and date, you know?
Yeah.
Which is something that they've been trying to play around with for like literally decades now, but has never really worked. So
they're knocking at the door. I don't understand why they just don't do it. It's like I want to see Top Gun in the theater and then take it home with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, in a way, you know, what's funny is like they kind of did that with some of those Warner Brothers movies with HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
And like I actually like that because I went and saw Dune in the theater in IMAX. And I was like, you know, I don't know what I feel about this movie. I kind of want to watch it again. And like literally the next day I got on HBO Max and I watched it again, you know, and that was great. But I know that the guy who's running HBO Max now has
no
also
idea what he's
said
doing.
that kind of like screwed them over, you know, money wise.
I don't know how that's possible.
I don't know either.
Because they literally they made like as another example, tangent, sorry guys, but like freaking the Zack Snyder cut, like that must have made some money. Everyone wanted that movie and everyone watched it. It even came out on disc and they lost money on it. But oh my god, I don't understand. What they're doing.
I don't know.
It's a fucking mess.
True. Next up is Armageddon Time. This is by one of my favorite like contemporary filmmakers, James Gray, a guy who like I don't think gets enough credit for the movies that he does because pretty much all of his movies are amazing. It's sort of an autobiographical tale of his youth, and you know, I'll just say that it's about like a kid going through changes in his life. You know, I want to leave it kind of generic because it's like if people want to watch it, I don't want to like it's really easy to spoil things in this movie. So I'll just say it's like a young teenager. I think he's like, you know, 13 or 14 at this point, going through, you know, those sort of like changes that, you know, teenagers start to go through where it's like the world around you is changing, you know, and you're changing. So next up is Glass Onion, the sequel to Knives Out. I loved this. I had so much fun in the theater. This was another one of those movies that almost made the top 5, but not quite. And I managed to get into that 1 week window where they were showing it in theaters, and everybody in the theater laughed at all the jokes. You could tell everybody was connecting with it. And I watched it when it came out on Netflix. I watched it again. I felt like it still really held up well. If you like Knives Out, you will like Glass Onion. If you don't like Knives Out, then you're not going to like Glass Onion. So, just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But and then after that is we're almost done, by the way. Then after that is a movie that I actually missed. It came out it was out for like a week, earlier on in the year. It's a movie called The Outfit, and it takes place in the 1950s in Chicago, and it's about a custom suit maker who sort of lets the mob use his shop as like a drop point. So people come in and they drop payments into a box, and then a guy every week comes in and picks up all the money. And one night the local mob boss's son and one of their henchmen comes in. The mob boss's son has been shot, and everything just goes to hell. And it all takes place almost all of it takes place in one night, and it all takes place in this guy's shop.
And that's Mark. Is that the one with Mark Rylance?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's so good. I highly recommend it. It's it's one of those rare films where it's where you're this might be okay, and then you watch it and you're like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
So a lot of great acting in it. Zoe Deutsch, who I don't know that I've ever seen. I know that I've seen her, but I don't know that I've ever seen her in an actual movie. She just feels like one of those how there's those sort of it girls that are just sort of around, and you see pictures of them pop up and they're at parties and things like that. I feel like I've seen her sort of as like that, but it's I don't know that I've ever actually seen her in a movie. And she's one of the main characters in this, and she's really good. And there's a guy whose name, I think it's Johnny Flynn, who plays the enforcer that comes in with the mob boss's son. He's really good in it too. And I know I've seen him in other stuff. He was in what was that movie? Clouds of Sils Maria with Kristen Stewart and Juliette Binoche. And he's been in a bunch of other stuff as well. But
that's the one where Kristen Stewart won all those awards for. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And last but not least is Babylon, which is a flawed film, but I think is really good. If you can get past the flaws, it's extremely entertaining and wild, raucous, just an anything kind of goes movie. I love Brad Pitt in it. It's to me, it's one of Margot Robbie's best performances ever. She's amazing in it. And there's this guy that I've never even heard of, Diego Calva, that's in it. He's great. And there's a ton of actors who are there's a ton of random actors who are in it as well that are fantastic. And the whole gist of it is it's about the early days of Hollywood during the silent era. And you have Brad Pitt, who is an established star. And then you have Margot Robbie, who's trying to get into Hollywood. And you follow them through sort of the early silent days into the transition to talkies, and how that sort of changes Hollywood forever, and how they have to adapt to the new way that Hollywood is making movies. So that is my last on my favorites of 2022.
That's a good list.
Yeah, it's the biggest list that I've had in a couple of years. So
yeah, I wish my list was that big, but then again, I just saw all the big flubs. It's like this is like a really like kind of there were some like really highs like your list because I know a lot of those are good. Like the Mark Rylance one. I just saw pictures online and didn't know that was what it was called or what the movie was about, but I did see pictures online. But like I saw some shit this year. It's like bad. like Blacklight, Lost City, Infinite Storm, Morbius, Secrets of Dumbledore, Memory. Oh my god. What a mess.
Some of these I haven't even heard of.
Terrible, Stewart. They're just terrible. Like
what
the
is
Lost
Blacklight?
Blacklight is the Liam Neeson movie, which is
Say no more. Say
okay.
no more.
Okay.
All you have to say is it's a Liam Neeson movie. I know instantly he's bound to be somebody who has a skill and somebody in his family has been kidnapped or murdered and he has to like take revenge.
I honestly don't remember because I thought it was the we call it the oh god, what's that thing? Wait, hang on. Blacklight. I think that is the one with his family. No, that's the one where he gets framed. Because I think there was like the Blacklight is the one where he gets framed, and then Memory is where he's recall. I think he found something out about a sex trafficking or human trafficking, and he can't remember the details. So I think that's what it was. Those are the differences.
2 Liam Neeson movies in 1 year?
Yeah, and I'm sure he filmed them in 1 month.
Back to back.
So let's go to my favorite ones then. So I have to go to my letterbox. I have to refer to it. So I usually do. There's always like that midpoint of like what I figure out what's good. So I'm looking at it right now, and I think I'll start with Everywhere All at Once. We talked about that, and that's at number 16. So we're going down to number 6 because we already talked about my top 5. Okay. So 16 was Everywhere All at Once. 15, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. 14, I'm surprised it's this high, but I do agree with my ranking because what's on my ranking is what would I rather watch? So it's like, like if I had to watch Everywhere All at Once or Doctor Strange, I'd probably choose Doctor Strange and then so forth and so forth. So what I'd rather watch over Doctor Strange is Bullet Train, which I thought was okay. It's just a ripoff of Guy Ritchie movies and Smokin' Aces. It's nothing really new, but it's fun to watch. And there's some questionable things about it. I remember someone said, don't think about it. I think it was Shane. Shane was like, don't think about it. I was like, I'm kind of thinking about it.
just let it wash over you.
It's like I can't. It's like, why did Tangerine and Lemon get off the train if they didn't give a shit about the sun? Why not just stay on the train? And then again, I think it's too high, but I just added it recently. So I think that's why it's high, but I don't mind. Halloween Ends. Which is okay. Like, I think the thing that people got, bogged with, like, oh my god, it sucks, and it's not. It's fine. It's because it was just a story of a trilogy. Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. People were like, it's the end of the entire franchise, and it means that it's so important. It's like, no, it had the story, and it's perfectly adequate for the trilogy they set up. Like, it's fine. I have no issue with it. It's fine. It's still family. And then
I will say, like, Halloween Ends, in my mind, not a perfect film by any means, but they did something that a lot of Halloween sequels do not do, and that is they actually made something that's interesting.
Yes.
I'm not saying that's particularly good. But it's interesting.
As the director Ford said, it's interesting. You do something different with Halloween, it's interesting.
Interesting.
If you don't make Michael Myers the main thing, it's interesting.
Now get the fuck out of my office.
I get the fuck out of my office. Okay, and then speaking of which, number 12, Fabelmans. We already talked about Fabelmans. Number 11, Violent Night, which was okay. It was okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Good.
I enjoyed it.
Good. It's good. It'll probably make it to the Christmas list, hopefully. I don't know. Might get into the rotation, but it's good. The thing that I really cracked up at, and I died and sides were splitting, and I was glad I was watching at home, was because the Home Alone gags. The Home Alone gags played for real killed me. I was like, I want a whole movie of that. Give me a whole movie of people dying on these Home Alone gags. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Did you have anything to say about Violent Night before we move on?
No, I mean, I literally just watched that yesterday, and I did enjoy it. It just wasn't quite enough to like hit
Yeah.
that like favorites.
Yeah.
But
There's too
it
many
is
lulls. I
one that
agreed with you.
do what?
Too many lulls.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That was my problem with it. Is like there's several points where it's like it just goes into a long lull, and you're like, okay, you're kind of derailing. Like
Yeah.
you had me, I was really in there with you, but you're kind of derailing this, you
Mhm.
know, because you have to be able to balance those lulls with the like all the action in a way where it's like before somebody realizes that you're in a lull, you're already going back, you're already building back up. And I think I may have said this to you over text, but it's like to me, the movie that does a really good job of that is Ready or Not.
Mhm.
Like they anytime they have like a lull before you realize that you've slowed down, they're already building up to the next thing. So, and I just don't feel like Violent Night did a good enough job. But I will say, like David Harbour, amazing. I would watch, you know, 2 more movies with him as Santa in them, so they can have like an even trilogy. Like I will put the money down for that. Definitely.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was fun. I agree with you. There's definitely lulls. Oh my god, there's lulls. And then there was like one thing about it where I was like, ooh, like because I'm so used to like the modern age of like action movies, so I was kind of expecting like fight sequences like Nobody or like John Wick, like not
Mhm.
as intricate, but like a little taste. And it wasn't. They were like really like kind of basic fight scenes of like
Yeah.
I I get he's Sansa, but like can't we make yeah, hang on. I can't even say that because later on they introduced that he used to be the baddest motherfucker on the planet. But like if you're gonna do that, then the fight sequences should match, or at least be like he's like getting back into it. Because the kind of the weird thing, okay, hang on, let's get my thought back into it. So it starts out where he doesn't know how to fight, but then they introduce that, oh wait, he used to be like a warrior. So that doesn't quite match. It should be a surprise that Santa could fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a little uneven. A little uneven. But yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It
Yeah,
just
I will say on that note, the one thing that it was that I was surprised by, I was expecting him to be a little bit more of like a badass. And like I felt like he was kind of like, you know, he was kind of like very like I hate to say weak, but it's like he just wasn't getting the job done at the beginning of it.
yeah.
And I just like I don't know. I kind of I mean, if he has the magic to like go up and down the chimney and all that kind of stuff, I feel like there's a little bit more magic. He should have had a little bit more magic when he was like fighting people.
Or
You know what I
even
mean?
like the twist should have been like if he becomes more evil, then he loses his magic.
Yeah, yeah,
Like if he becomes more of like the Nicholas the Red, then he starts losing his magic, but he becomes more powerful, but he loses his magic. Something. Give us
yeah.
something. And I think they tried to do like he's like the soft, cuddly Santa, but then like he's the badass Santa, but they couldn't find that balance.
Hmm.
Because I remember I cracked up like at the second biggest laugh of the movie is when he's like gonna stitch himself up and he takes off his shirt and he's covered in tattoos, like he's like a Russian or something, like a Russian assassin. That
Yeah.
cracked me up. That had me dying. But yeah, it's all right. It's okay. It's
It's
okay.
okay.
It's okay. And then number 10.
It's all right. It's
Yay,
okay.
the Lord
Jesus
told me
told
so.
me so.
Yeah, I got that. Number 10, Sonic 2. It's dumb. It's stupid. I love it. I can't explain it. I'm not going to say it's good. It's
Yeah.
stupid. It's dumb. I had a
You
fucking blast.
clearly enjoyed it, you
Yeah,
know, regardless.
I enjoyed it so much that I raced out to get the freaking toys. That's how much I enjoyed Sonic 2. Where I was like, I like that movie that much. Where I was like, I want some representation in my collection of
Yeah.
that character. But yeah, it's not good. I'm not going to recommend it, but like it's that high up where I enjoy it.
There's a there's a podcast that I listen to called Pure Cinema Podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a they had an episode recently where the guests were the guy. There's Violent Night, and there's another movie that was like a Shudder exclusive that's called like I think it's called like Santa Bloody Santa, or like Christmas Bloody Christmas, or something like that. It's about a robot Santa that like goes haywire and starts killing people. But the dude who wrote Violent Night is one of the dudes who wrote Sonic 2.
Oh, so they're right up my alley. That explains it then.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all right. But I liked it. Number 9, Elvis. That one I'm kind of mixed with because it's like I love Austin Butler. Anything with Austin Butler and those musical sequences, fantastic. Love all that stuff. I love how crazy it is. It really is the movie Speed Racer. Like if Speed Racer and Walk Hard had a baby, it would be Elvis.
Yeah.
Exactly that. And not Walk the Line, Walk Hard. The John C. Reilly movie. So put those two things together and you get Elvis. Yeah, it was just a mix on Tom Hanks. I don't know if it's good or bad. That's what drags it down for me because I love all the Austin Butler shit. Like the part where he goes like, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba. We're like, you're an alien. It's just great. I love it.
Yeah.
And I like how he's still in his Elvis mode. He hasn't gotten out of it. We're going to find out that he's a clone of Elvis.
He still does the voice. Like every
I
time I see him in like an interview or something, he's still doing the voice. And the thing is like, for anybody who says like, well, maybe that's just his voice. No, he was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and like his voice is completely different in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a normal talking person. Like he literally sounded normal, but now he is full on Elvis.
Yeah.
He is Elvis. He is almost like, I had like this weird theory where like Elvis couldn't make movies that he wanted to. So Austin Butler is like, since Elvis couldn't do it, I'm going to do it for Elvis. So he can't get out of that Elvis voice. It's so insane. Like his like literal voice changed. He can't go back. And then number 8 was in the top 5 for the longest time, but it got pushed out. Scream. I enjoyed it. Not as good as the original. I recently rewatched all 4 movies. Not as good as the first 4 movies, but still enjoyed it. And then number 7, we talked about it, Ambulance. And then to round it up, number 6 is the Batman. Now, the Batman, not original. I can't really put my finger on what makes that movie awesome to me, but I enjoy it. There's something about it. I don't know if it's a mixture of like the world building or Robert Pattinson, but like a lot of that movie is like, damn it, Batman, if you watched more movies, you would have solved this. If you watched Seven, if you watched Black Mass, if you watched Departed, if you watched Silence of the Lambs, you watched Peter Pan, you watched Christine, if you watched any of these movies, you'd figure out this thing. And even at it cracks me up towards the end because it really gets like Blues Brothers territory where like we found the Riddler, he's in the restaurant. So like Paul Dano gets down, and then they do the reverse shot because you just see his back and he gets pushed down and you see close up going, but then all the cops in there, it really looks like the scene from the Blues Brothers when all the police and army men have the guns on them in the, what do you call it? The assessor office in the Blues Brothers. It really looks like that. It just cracks me up. And then the movie keeps going. It's one of those ones where it's like, oh fuck, there's more movie left, because it really feels like the movie is ending with John Turturro. It almost feels like, okay, Batman lost this. Movie's over. Roll credits. Yeah. But no, there's another 30-40 minutes. It keeps going. It's aggravating, but also it kind of feels like a reward because you sat through so much boring crap that the reward is, oh, you're going to watch this pretty cool Batman sequence where they're inside the Madison Square Garden. Because last time I watched it, I'm like, oh my God, there's actually going to something happening here. They're going to fight. It's like, because like freaking Alf. Okay, so they're in the orphanage. You learn that Thomas Wayne wasn't a good person. And then you find out about the Arkhams. And he says, oh shit. And then he goes home. Alfred blows up. And then there's a viral video on the news. You get this information again. And then he goes to see John Turturro. You get this information again. And then you go to Alfred. Alfred explains this information from a slightly different point of view. And then, like, okay, we're going to catch John Turturro. We're going to go in the building and, get him. And then there's more movie left. It's like, oh my fucking God. Oh my God.
So much movie.
It's like too much movie. And because there's like some scenes in the movie where it's not worth it. Like the whole like throughway chase scene or the highway chase, whatever the hell it is. All that destruction, all that action, just to find out that they read the card wrong. It makes Batman look stupid. But some reason, Stewart, I have no idea why, I like the Batman. And I don't know what it is. I think it's Robert Pattinson. I think it's that world. I think it's the way it looks. I think it's the feeling. But it's not quite the plot. Which is weird. I think so. I think it's one of those movies where it gets away with its looks.
You're getting by on your looks, kid.
Wait, we have a comment here. Oh my God. Captain Iron Dog has joined us. He says, the only Sonic 2 figure I have is Knuckles. I have not been able to find Knuckles. I want a Knuckles. I have not been able to find him. For Stewart, since you don't know who Knuckles is the Idris Elba character from the movie. Where he plays a stupid goofball. He's like the fish out of water where he's like, serious, man? He's like Drax, basically.
Oh, okay.
Where he takes everything literally and he's stupid. But yeah, that's my overall top 16. I think, yeah, because we talked about most of them. We talked about, Everywhere All at Once. Did you have anything to say about Bullet Train?
I actually watched that. I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was the day before yesterday. It didn't really do anything for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I said it in my previous podcast, but I want to say it here. The thing I wish that they paid off in Bullet Train is that I wish there was a third sex joke with Channing Tatum. It's like, when the train is crashing and everyone's going in slow motion, like, whoa. One of those train cars, a door should have opened and it should have been him like giving head to like the train conductor or him fucking the train conductor. And that would have paid off because the whole movie he wants to do some crazy sex shit. So at the end, when the train is crashing, one of the doors should have flew open. It should have been like, and like the spray towards the screen. It would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing they must have aimed for it PG-13 just in case, because it never goes hard R. It always stays in that PG-13 R. But yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's okay.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's all right. It's all right. So, Stewart, is there any movies that are you looking forward to in 2023? Don't cheat it. Top of your head.
I think like Scorsese has that film Killers of the Flower Moon.
Mm-hmm.
That one I'm really looking forward to because it's sort of like a I believe it's sort of like a turn of the last century kind of thing, like pre World War II kind of deal. And it's got a great cast in it. I mean, without looking at a list, that's the only thing that sort of comes to mind. I'm sure there's a lot more.
Yeah, I think I only have like a few. I think I only have like Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning.
That one would definitely be on my list.
And like Scream 6, because now I'm ride or die Scream 6.
You're not Cocaine Bear is not on your list?
No. I'm sure that's a freaking Snakes in a Plane thing where they're going to hype it up and then no one cares about it when it comes out.
I have a feeling that's probably going to exactly be the case. I will say, like, and I know we had kind of like a long discussion about Marvel movies, but I will say, like, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I'm looking forward to that. Like, I like those movies. I like James Gunn. And I love Christopher Nolan. I am I am looking forward to Oppenheimer, although like probably less so than a lot of his other movies.
Yeah, right. Like he really took
Um,
that hit. He really took a hit from Tenet.
yeah. Dune. I'm interested in. I guess if Dune Part Two does come out in 2023. Yeah, Barbie. I am looking forward to Barbie actually.
Yeah, me too.
Um, because I do like Greta Gerwig a lot, and I like the movies that she makes.
And Marco Robbie,
But
same.
If Dune Part Two does end up coming out next year, which supposedly it is, that's something that I wouldn't mind seeing.
Mm.
Um, and a little bit Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Like I've liked the Ant-Man movies so far. They've kind of surprised me at how good they are.
Mm.
So that and I don't know. There's probably a ton. If I could find like a complete list of everything, I could probably go through and find a bunch. But
Yeah.
those are just some of the bigger things that I'd be looking forward to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I only have like a handful. It's like Mission Impossible and Barbie and Scream. Other ones I'm like, like I'm not interested in the Ant-Man series. Definitely skip that. Guardians, I'm not even sure anymore. Like I'm so burned out with the Marvel movies at this point where I'm just like, because I skipped out on Wakanda. I didn't see that Black Panther movie. Had no interest. And what was the last one before then? Was it what the hell
I
was
think
this?
that was Thor: Love and Thunder was
That
the
was
one
awful.
before that.
That was awful, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, dude, I gotta be honest with you. Like phase four has done more to like kill my interest in Marvel than like anything,
Yeah,
because it's just like the Black Widow movie should have been done earlier. Like, I don't know why they waited until after that character was dead to do a movie with her. Eternals, like I said, was like to me not that interesting. It's a very beautiful movie, but like just writing wise, like I said, that should have been a show.
yeah, it really
I don't
should
know
have
why
been.
they tried to make it as a movie.
Yeah,
Shang-Chi was like, it's decent, but it's like, I watched it once. I don't need to see it again.
ever again.
Um, what?
Ever again.
Yeah. So yeah, phase four has been kind of a wash for me.
Yeah, and
So
they've all felt real cheap. I felt
yeah.
like I don't know what happened. I don't know where the money's going, but it felt cheap. I think the only one that felt its money felt like was Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
That felt like its money, and then everything else felt cheap. Like Shang-Chi felt like, what the hell are you doing? You're making this for $20? What's going on here? And then what was the other one that felt cheap? Eternals. Eternals felt cheap. Eternals felt like a TV show. It's funny because it feels like a TV show, but it's only 2 hours, so they can't do as much as a TV show. It's insane. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that they could do. Like I feel like you could do a lot with those characters, but they got shafted with a 2 hour movie. Actually, 3 hour movie, right? It was a long one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was. I think it may have even actually been over 3 hours. I don't remember.
Something crazy like that. Speaking of which, I think we'll wrap it up with this Avatar. I want to mention it because I feel like I haven't talked about it at all. So I saw Avatar. It was okay. The thing I liked about it was that whenever Natiri, I think her name's Natiri, and Jake Sully, whenever they were killing humans, it was wonderful because it felt like a clip from a Mel Gibson movie. You know how Mel Gibson goes all crazy in like The Patriot or something like that, where he just gets all brutal because like they're throwing spears, they're throwing arrows, and it's just great when Naturi and Jake Sully do all that stuff. I know it's Sully, guys, but I'm going to call him Sully. Jake Sully. But yeah, it was all right, and I like the Miles Courage thing because he's not exactly the same character. He's like a clone inside of an avatar body, so he's not the same person. So he kind of has like a different mindset than the original Miles Courage had, which I find interesting. That's a whole that's the movie. Focus on him because he's hardly in it. They focus on the damn kids, the way of water. I'm swimming with whales. No, focus on Miles Courage clone Avatar, where he has to deal with the legacy of his memories, but yet he's his own person. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But they don't really do anything with that, and it just feels like the whole movie feels like a setup for the next movie, which is like, is there even going to be a next movie? I don't know.
Well, that is supposedly it's already made like $1 billion worldwide.
That's
So
that's what I find funny, because everyone makes fun of the script. They're saying it's simplistic, it's stupid, it's not smart, but it's because with a simplistic story, it could be easily translated to multiple languages, and it makes bank everywhere.
yeah.
That's the thing, So that's why I'm like, when I looked at the Avatar, I'm like, because it only made like 500 million in the States or something close to that, maybe 300 million, but everywhere else it's making money, and it's because it's a simple story, simple script. It's very easy to sink in and enjoy it. And it's
Yeah, I will say that there's a lot more international audiences that enjoy the effects, and like the
Mhm,
story is not as important to them.
mhm.
They want to see they want to see the spectacle, and they
Yeah,
want to see the effects and stuff like that. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that it's doing a lot better internationally
yeah.
than it is here.
Because like
So
a example of what you just said, I think Terminator Genesis did huge overseas. I think it
mhm.
was like one of the biggest movies in China, but like over here it flopped so hard because no one cared about Terminator Genesis. But over there they loved it. They ate it right up.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, we've done it. We talked about the 2022 films. We talked about next year's films. And before we head out, I just want to say thank you for those movies, Stuart. I'm finally able to watch them. I watched Golden Needles and I watched Road Games. And I fucking love Road Games, Stuart. I don't know if you watched my previous podcast. Probably not. They're long. But I talked about Road Games for so long. And I tell everybody, I'm like, you got to see Road Games.
I will go back and watch it because I've been interested to hear what you thought about those.
Yes, I
So
really love Road Games. So it's in one. It's probably the one with Luke. So there's
mhm.
the one with Luke. I think the one with me and Sarah. We just talked about Christmas stuff because it's the Christmas themed episode. But yeah, the one with Stuart. I definitely talk about Road Games, and maybe one of my solo streams. I don't know which one. I've done like 5. I've been practicing because I want to do more of these. I want to do interviews with friends, maybe more live shows with you. But I'm trying to get used to
More
this.
live pilots.
More live pilots. Light it up.
Let's do
But
it.
yeah, yes. But yeah, it's been a good year. It's been a good year. And definitely thank you for those movies, Stuart. And I'm gonna try to put your movies onto a thumb drive because I started that list, Kiss Me Deadly, and I watched the black and white one where it's like a ghost story. I like that one.
Oh,
So
Vampire?
yeah, Vampire, yep.
Yeah.
That was good. And then what was the other one I watched? I watched Ready for My Close Up, Mr. DeMille.
Oh, Sunset Boulevard.
Yes, it was so good
Yeah.
because he's like floating in the pool in the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's such
so
a good movie.
yeah, I did watch those, and I think there might have been another one I watched. Don't remember though. But yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're getting around to that. So
Yes, yes. So thank you guys for tuning in. I see Captain Iron Dog's probably still here. Hopefully he's enjoyed what he's seen, and then go back and watch the whole show because it's been good.
all 3 hours of it, baby. It's
All
a
3 hours.
long
Well, I think it's like genuinely we talked about the movies, and I think we gave everything the time it needed. Although I kind of breezed right through mine, but I think we talked about most of them anyway, so it's all right.
one. Yeah.
Okay, it's been fun, Stuart. Thank you.
Yeah. It's been great.
Yeah. See you next year.
Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Bye, everybody. What is that?